Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series Leipzig, as we've concluded our first match of the day, and we get ready to move towards a German showdown, a matchup that's as lopsided as this desk when we don't have these boxes to stand on, and Todd's here.
Nice.
I'm Nathanius, joined by Zombie Grub and Maynard. How are you guys enjoying the festivities so far today?
They're not bloody bad, man. I'm having a great time. It's been good.
Yeah, surprise for the first two series. They almost were upset, especially that nice game. It was a nice game.
It was very noisy.
No one was casting it to make the pun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, if I was casting that, I would have said he's been upgraded to nice. Not nice. But
Okay, well, that just happened. So we do have a little bit more StarCraft, of course, coming your way today. We're getting ready for our next series, which is going to be ShoWTimE versus Namshar. Some PvZ action as we wait for the players to get ready to be introduced. We just talked about how ShoWTimE literally does not ever lose to this guy in a series.
yeah, that is the elephant in the room here, is the statistics. But I'm going to be the devil's advocate here, or the Namshar advocate, as it were, because I spoke to the man himself, went out in the player area and just spoke to him. I'm like, Namshar, convince me.
Sell me.
Yeah, and he spoke to me that like a man that is convinced. I believed him. I looked in his eyes, I was convinced. He says, yes, I can win a series, Maynard. I have a plan for every single map. I thought, oh, Namshar, you're going to veto the new, veto the older maps, maybe try and trick him on the newer ones, something that ShoWTimE might not be comfortable with. And he's like, no, Maynard, I'm actually going to veto one of the new maps. I'm fine to play on Catalyst or Blackpink or any of those maps that I thought would be really frightening to play ShoWTimE on. And he has a plan. I can't wait to watch.
All right. Do you agree, disagree, Jessica?
I don't really see a PvZ. I see that 17-0, so...
Do you see an 18-0?
Yes, that's what I see in the future for sure. I want to give a lot of credit to Namshar. I love him, right? He's like always been that up-and-comer, but ShoWTimE is actually my favorite Protoss 2015, I believe. Not including, I guess, Hero on the Korean side. But anyways, and I was expecting big things from his 2017 and 2018 is going to be his year.
Yeah.
Well, to me, Namshar's been getting better and better and better, and his ZVP is quite scary. He just seems to actually have a mental block, specifically against ShoWTimE.
We get to see a little bit of this gameplay, of course. ShoWTimE did demolish Cham in the series that we got to see on stream yesterday. Really good control with the way that he pulled his forces together. That game on Catalyst,
Yeah,
I think,
was a masterclass.
Quite a cracker out of ShoWTimE.
It was a right cracker, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think we know ShoWTimE is just a player that's been so strong for so long. Last year was not his year. The talk of the town for Protoss has been, and still is, Neeb. But this is his opportunity. We're in the round of 16. We're getting into that sweet cash, Maynard.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say cash and money one more time. But no, you're absolutely right. There's big bucks on the line now, and WCS points as well, don't forget.
And you're going to be following Bly and True throughout this as well.
Which has started in true Bly fashion. It's been just a 13-12 straight off the bat.
If you guys are hungry for cheddar, we've got it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Big aggressive play. Didn't kill the hatchery, though, for True. So, he's able to recover.
And if you'd like to follow this best of 5, of course, I believe this one is also being broadcast on our official B stream at Base Trade TV, where they'll be covering this. So you can stay up to date on everything that's happening. Pull up 2 monitors, watch all of the games of StarCraft. There's going to be quite a bit to follow today. And we're basically just waiting for the players to be ready to come up on stage and introduce them. So any other thoughts on this series, Zombie Grub? Maybe any of the other round of 16 matches you're looking forward to?
I mean, I'm looking forward to almost all of these. After the first set of the day, we had that close series. I'm like, okay, none of these are actually super callable. I'm not going to make super hard predictions, but I do think ShoWTimE is just super solid. Namshar is like that. You have 2 solid players. I don't consider Namshar cheesy or weird or something like that. Just 2 solid players, really. Like, if the day's their day, they're really 100% each. Maybe it'll be close, but I think that ShoWTimE still takes it like max 3-1, maybe 3-0.
Does Namshar need to do anything weird then? Do we feel like he has to do something weird?
Actually, I think the games that I've seen of Namshar when he really looks for solid in ZVP have gone longer. The earlier games when he does weird stuff, he kind of kills himself against ShoWTimE. It happened in the IEM Katowice qualifiers as well. He needs, I think going for the...
That's one way to put it?
He's like jumping into the meat grinder with some of the stuff that he's been doing. Like
the steamroller's coming and he's just standing there, like...
Well, he's actually running into it.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like,
That's what people do against ShoWTimE, though. Like,
Yeah,
he
that
is
is
kind
true.
of a steamroller. Like, he just, like, sets up, like, with a nice, like, tank shield, and he's like, come at me. And sometimes it works from, like, our greatest Zergs of Europe, but then more often, you know, we see those clutch holds, like on Catalyst.
Yeah, that Catalyst game, that actually makes me think about that Catalyst game versus Cham, where he basically just hunkered down, got out those 6 Immortals, and all of a sudden Cham's like, well, I actually can't kill this with just that. And doing, I think the cute things, the big thing that stood out to me, at least in that game, was the way that he used his accessory units, his Warp Prism to get the handful of Zealots in the back to
he's
harass.
Oracle as well.
And that one Oracle that killed something like 10 Ravagers, which...
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, like just looking at the way that went, like that's like a game decider there. He had no anti-air with that army outside of the Crucibles.
Yeah, I mean, Namshar used to be that roach guy for ZVP, but I don't...
That roach guy.
That roach guy, and we just saw how solid ShoWTimE is against Roach Ravager. Like, he does not afraid at all. But, you know, streaks end. They all end eventually, and I think this might be happening. I'm feeling a little bit of that WCS magic in the air.
You say that, and then in 5 years, we'll be talking about how when ShoWTimE plays Namshar again, he's like, yeah, he's actually 42-0 against him.
In series.
In series, not just maps. Maybe he'll have taken a second map by then, but in series, no, nothing.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's this? Anything? What happened after the cheese phase of this
It's actually
game?
evened out quite nicely. Like, they're going into the mid game, True and Bly going into that roach headbutt sort of phase of ZVZ. True going for the lair. Bly's a little bit quicker. True got his third a little bit earlier, so Bly's sort of going for it right now. But both players are just kind of chilling, man. There's like a little bit of posturing, just teching up. Not a whole lot of action at the moment.
They're in the shouting for a few episodes phase while they power up.
They are powering up.
We kind of talk about, you know, WCS magic. I feel like Bly had a little bit of that versus Thermal. Seems to be in a really good mood, but True is like the embodiment of WCS magic. They're like, he's not going to get past 16, round of 8, and some things in the semifinals. Like, okay, this is something that I have to remember every time I get to a WCS that he does that.
When we think about True in WCS, I think the thing that comes to most people's minds is when he made that qualification. We talked about Hero Marine, of course, when he had that series against him in WCS Montreal in 2016, where that was his first WCS event of the year because he was getting his visa processed. He actually couldn't play in the previous tournaments. And they're like, well, if he wants to go to BlizzCon, he has to show up to this tournament and win it. And he did.
Which he did.
The excuse was like, oh, we didn't get to prep for him. He wasn't playing on our ladder. Like, of course, he's going to surprise a lot of people. But now it's like a year and like some months later, and he still does that. So.
I was going to say, like, whenever people talk about prepping against True, there were a lot of very good Terran showings. You know, first of all, the final with Pult and then Hero Marine. When Terran players play against True, and they're like, we didn't know what to prep for. I'm like, it's a lot of Lings and a lot of Banelings.
Yeah.
I didn't prep to raise my supply depot 3 games out of 5.
I unbound the Hellion hotkey before I played versus a guy that only builds Zerglings.
Even the great Innovation himself folded against True in one of those games in the WCS Global Playoffs. So
Yeah.
Anyone can.
True lives by the philosophy that he likes to play his own style a bit, and he is very good at it. You won't play many people that will do what True does. He's not afraid to skimp on his tech, especially in those non-mirror matchups, of course. We are still waiting on the players to be ready to come out onto the stage. Hello fans, hello friends, StarCraft viewers in Germany.
Guten Tag, Leipzig.
Hello.
A lot of people showing up, a lot of support, a lot of cheering's been going on for these games.
I think
been good times.
I went out in the crowd, Tom went out in the crowd, took some pictures, seeing how much support Germany has, of course, for StarCraft and for, I guess, Hero Marine, who unfortunately was knocked out, but still with ShoWTimE now.
And also Lambo, don't forget.
Yeah, well, later on.
Yeah. The German players to cheer for, of course. I think a lot of people very excited to see ShoWTimE play. He was talking in the interview about the energy, how awesome it is to have that hometown crowd cheering for you in your own language and all that. And it's an interesting thing. We talked about because Roddy brought this up in the pre-show that we had like the 3 German players come into the top 16, and we were very excited to see because it hadn't been quite so many of them making it through.
1 per race too. I just realized that. Rodos turns or.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. How about that?
Wowzers. Yeah.
What's up, Ramus? Wrong game, but it's good to have you here anyway.
Welcome to the superior title of
It
PC.
could kind of look like an Overlord to me if you really
If you really stretch your imagination.
Let's go.
If you really stretch your imagination, Overlord could roll around and be unkillable. It looks like this Bly True series is heating up a little bit while we're waiting for this next match to get underway.
It's not like in the bag, but True is up quite a bit in workers, and it's really going to be about like what this trade's going to look like in a little bit. I mean, True's got +2 attack coming out, so if you're on Roach against Roach, +2 attack's actually like the most important upgrade in the whole world. Bly, I don't think's like looking or even able to kill him for quite a while here. He's looking to go to mutas and try and bamboozle him a bit with those flying worms.
If there's anything we know Bly to be from time to time, it's a bamboozler.
Yeah.
Yes.
Drew's bamboozling
Oh, wow,
too, though,
this
Selling
is-
Claws, so.
This is something True needs to deal with right now. This is
We could take a gander at this
Yeah.
game again. I mean, it's getting pretty crazy. The
please do.
engagement's taking place at one of the outside expansions now.
the crowd is
We
pretty
have
handsome.
very
crowd-
handsome Germans to
Yeah.
show instead.
To be honest, it's
They've got some solid beard game in this crowd as well.
Yeah, it's intimidating as a beard owner myself. But the hair game is
Owner.
still
As a beard owner,
You got a leash for it? Give it some dog tags?
yeah, as a beard owner. I've got my license in my pocket.
did he kill him in this game yet?
He killed the hatchery, dude. It's like a really
yeah.
big move.
I'm like 40
It's
drones
like a base
died,
trade.
28. They've killed like almost all of each other's stuff.
But looks like Bly, well, his spire's done. He has like 900 minerals and gas.
yeah, but I think making 9 meters right now doesn't actually help him.
And what you can't kill all these roaches with 9 meters.
He can't kill all the roaches with the roaches he has either, though. So
Yeah,
true.
that's true.
the math
Got
on
him.
my side again.
Yeah.
So this game just got really weird. Not really surprising
I
considering that
think
it's
True's
blind.
got it, though, just based on army value and it just being tons of roaches, way more damage output, and just being all up in his face and
Well, he can play around with the burrow memes as well, right? For the
Exactly,
regeneration and such and so forth. Yeah.
really crazy game. I mean, you expect Bly and True to look pretty insane, to be honest.
Wait, so okay, Bly actually doesn't have any drones anymore, right? But he's building an extractor and a hatchery somewhere that he needs to protect.
It just died. I think that's what he just sniped.
Okay,
from
so he's just got the
hatchery did.
extractor.
Yep.
And True's building his
Yep,
extractor
yep.
next to
Right
him.
next to Bly's.
He did need
Well,
the
howdy,
minerals.
neighbor. Damn.
Okay,
Yeah,
then.
showed up in the wrong neighborhood.
Yeah.
So True's gonna take I think it was the first map of that
That was
series.
map 1, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. So got some stuff to follow. We apologize for a little bit of a delay. We're just getting everything ready. Just been a tiny bit of a delay, but hopefully you guys have been enjoying the games that we've had thus far. We'll take another look at the schedule for those of you that want to see what's happening. Of course, ShoWTimE Namshar, then we'll have Cyril Massa for your Terran versus Zerg action, and then TVT with Special New Thermal.
Oh, actually really excited for those last two
Yeah.
series. Just love myself some TVZ. Master's got that multitask, that bioaggression, and that's
Yeah.
my favorite kind of TVZ to watch. And then there's Special Thermal, which is going to be a masterclass of TVT action. It's going to be good, man.
Perfect time to remind you as well, as many of you watching, if you haven't heard, of course, StarCraft 2 has gone free to play. We've been pumping it out in these ads between the breaks, but it's a great time to jump into the game and follow everything going on StarCraft. It's been a good time. Been a lot of changes, a lot of cool stuff coming up. I think there's just another big update put out today about some changes being made to some of the co-op commanders for those of you that play that as well.
Yeah, and a big multiplayer balance patch shortly after this event as well.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Everyone's playing on the new maps. Balance
true.
is shortly to come.
Already on the new maps and about to have all their units changed a little bit. Auto turret coming back
Yeah.
to the Raven.
Yeah.
Auto turret
With
is
one
coming
range.
back.
Yeah,
With one range.
That one range auto turret.
It's gonna be good, guys.
panel full of
Terrans.
Terrans just nodding their heads and smiling.
Yep.
That
We like it.
yeah,
It's cool.
it kills more workers than the healing drone does. That's for sure.
That is true. Well, you could pair up the healing drone with a Hellbat push and SCVs, and that was pretty cool. You could do
Yeah.
that before.
It's fun. It's fun to do a bit of time killing as we are all Terrans getting ready for a PvZ. we can't really break down that strategy too much for you. So
Do we want to talk about Protoss?
do we want to talk about Protoss? We'll talk. Oh, I've got a lot of things to say about Protoss. You know,
Take a breath, Nate. Think about it.
they might have to cut the microphones if we go that far. You know what I'm saying? Got to be careful.
I'm getting in the lobby for game 2 between True and Bly. So it's pretty. I don't know if this series is going to go for a very long time, but Neon Violet Square will be map number 2, and that is going to
It's
be
two very aggressive players going up against
Yeah.
each other, right?
Yeah.
I feel like this is like the antithesis. That was a weird word to say. Very fast. Should not have done that. That was daring. Anyways, I think it's like the opposite of what's happening on stage, right? We have these two solid players on stage, and then you have these two super aggressive, weird players on the B stream, and it's nice to have those two monitors up.
You got the A stream for your macro, the
Yeah.
B stream for your cheese.
That's the thing, though. Like, Namshar's last few series against ShoWTimE have kind of been a little cheesy and aggressive and weird. When normally he's that late game Zerg was really comfortable on stage. It's like he just doesn't know what to do.
ShoWTimE played
Is it-
too well against the aggression yesterday, though. Like I would not recommend cheesing that
No,
guy.
not at all. Like,
Is-
I think it's a straight up mistake if he wants to do that again.
I mean, maybe Namshar was just trying, like, you know what? Usually I do roaches, like a safe build, and it doesn't work, and he tried the all-ins, but yeah, that didn't work either. And I don't think it's gonna work. ShoWTimE looks way too strong against those. So we're back to the whole question of does Namshar actually have a chance?
We did it. Full circle.
Full circle here.
We've managed to go into a complete circle.
We're even back to talking about the crowd again. We actually have literally gone full circle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, we're just waiting on one of the players, for everybody wondering what's going on. Just, got to make sure everybody's ready to go.
Yeah,
You don't
just waiting
want
on that
to
crowd.
don't want to rush anybody. as the players, we would like for them to be in a good place, ready to go. And
They're actually both on stage again.
I think he
so it
just
shouldn't
sat
be much
down.
longer.
I think he
Yep.
just sat down. So we should be ready to jump into this very shortly. Thank you guys for bearing with us. You are watching the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series Leipzig. This is the first event of 4 that will be taking place this year in the WCS Circuit. We swapped around the Young Shipping event for this one so that we could start a bit earlier, but we will still be competing in Austin and Valencia and Montreal.
And there's a bit of a break for WCS between now and Austin, and people are
It's a
like,
couple months,
man,
yeah.
wow, so many months to wait for WCS. That really sucks. But then you got to think about it. There's going to be Katowice. There's going to be
That's right.
Pyeongchang. Like a lot of big tournaments in between now and then. So non-stop StarCraft. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out that war chest that's been going on for the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice that's taking place at the end of February, there's been a lot to compete for, a lot of cool new skins. I think the Mirrors Marauders skins?
Yeah,
they're pretty badass.
Spikes.
Pretty cool.
I think my favorite skin from the new war chest has to be the Thor.
Oh, wait, no.
You got a giant mech, and now it's also got blades on its arms.
Yeah, this wasn't the spiky skin upgrade. It was the knives upgrade.
We put knives
so
on
Battle Cruisers
everything.
now have
But it made
knives
me
as
think
well.
that you should be able to boost your medevacs through like a cloud of mutalisks and just kill them
Yes.
all. Doesn't
That's
that make
the
sense?
Let's get that. Let's get that. And you know what else? Let's get to this next match. Anna is on the stage,
Please and thank you.
ready to introduce the players. Anna, how have you held up for this bit of weight? You ready to get into this one?
You know what? As they say, all good things are worth waiting for, Nathanius.
I tend to agree.
As well.
You know, and you've been talking a lot about how Namshar has so much stacked against him in terms of this record, but you know what we like to call that up here on the stage? An underdog story. And there's nothing that esports loves more than an underdog story, so I'm very excited to see if he can prove himself on this stage. But as we're here in Germany, I'm sure that you German fans are really excited to see your hometown hero ShoWTimE. Is that right? I thought so. Let's get into this PvZ. It is ShoWTimE versus Namshar.
ShoWTimE coming in as the very dominant favorite in this PvZ. Namshar is going to make nothing short of a miracle to get himself out of this one based on the previous
Is it a
record.
miracle though? I mean,
Will it be?
he's calm, he's collected, he believes in himself.
Part of the cards, all that.
The cards, right?
You
No,
say that like ShoWTimE isn't, though.
No, ShoWTimE is a machine. He's German efficiency embodied in one man.
Yeah, I think that's they.
And he
both
looks so
look
damn
like
good
this.
doing
There
it.
is
Yeah.
no magic. That is machinery right there. That is science. That is the magician right here. But he's gonna have to pretty good spell there. This is gonna be rough.
Yeah. I think this is one of those ones where if in a theoretical scenario where Namshar wins, this is not just an upset. This is like a pretty big deal, considering how important this tournament is for ShoWTimE based on his performance last year, which was less than remarkable, to say the least.
Yeah, and let's not forget that someone could lock themselves in for BlizzCon at the very start of the year. Now that would be a relief for 9 more months. But that's still a long ways away. I think that ShoWTimE's got a good chance to advance himself, though, a little bit closer.
I think everybody in this bracket should still be scared as long as Neeb is still alive in it, though.
True.
Just to put that out there for everybody. Of course, for those of you guys, as far as the tournament format goes, the winner of each circuit events, the champion, is seeded directly into the global finals at the end of the year. You get to kick back. I mean, you don't want to kick back. You want to keep winning, of course, like Neeb did last year. But you get to prepare and already ready yourself for the final tournament of the year.
Yeah, it's always nice to know that I'm going to be in the biggest tournament for StarCraft 2 this year. At the
Yeah.
You
find out in January.
In January, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I'm good. Got
And it was just a casual $750,000 prize pool. For
Yeah.
Casual.
Oh, yeah.
Just a casual $750,000. No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodness knows how many more war chests we're going to see as well. That's going to be another fun thing to follow, of course. As I really like that mechanic for the tournaments that have coming up. We had that for BlizzCon at the end of last year. Now we have it for Katowice, and I'm just like, what's the next set of skins going to be?
Yeah, you know, once it was spikes, next it was blades. Now we're gonna have rollerblades maybe, or top hats.
I want
like,
all the units to be chrome. Every unit has to have
Chrome.
sunglasses
Shiny
on the
the future
portrait.
skin.
Yeah, exactly. I want my blue steel Terran skins. That's what's next.
I believe. I actually personally want top hats.
I kind of want like 80s workout gear skins for.
Oh, that'd be really good.
You know what? I think we've talked enough about that. It's time to get to this next match. It's going to be ShoWTimE versus Namshar.
Thank you very much, Nathanias, Zombie Grub, and Maynard. Phenomenal death segment there, Todd. Enjoyed every single minute of it, and it was lots of minutes.
Yeah, they did a good job. But here as Namshar, you can only delay the inevitable for so long. Dread it, run from it. Destiny still arrives.
You guys, we're not going to talk about it too much more during this series, but we have to say it one more time. Head-to-head record between these two, 17-0 in favor of ShoWTimE. Map score, 38-5 in favor of ShoWTimE. And in the last 25 games, 24-1. Todd, the only worst record I can ever think of is me versus you in Warcraft 3.
Not even that.
I think it was. It was pretty bad. All right, we're getting ready for our round of 16 matchup. We're hopping into Neon Violet Square. We're looking at the main base of the Swedish Zerg. Can he do what he's never done before? It is Namshar.
And in the bottom right, playing in the reds and Protoss, all the way from Germany, it is ShoWTimE. That's Namshar.
We switched up the players' shots, but it's all good. You know, maybe, I don't know. I don't know where I was going to go with that joke. I'm just going to let it go. Let's just talk.
roll with it.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and talk about StarCraft. Should be a really fun series, though. Namshar, we did cast them, well, what was it, a week ago when they went up against each other in the Extreme Masters qualifier. And that was that one map in the last 25 games that Namshar won. But he also had potential in some of those other maps. That was actually a closer series than their scoreline suggested. And just like Maynard, I had a little chat with Namshar as well, and he said, I feel better. He's like, I feel a lot better. I generally feel I've got a solid game plan for each and every single map. So let's do it.
Yeah, maybe that's what gives him hope, the fact that, you know, they played closer games the previous time that they played. Namshar, what you can expect out of him a lot of the time, unless he wants to play completely out of the ordinary, is that he's going to rely a lot on Hydralisks and then potentially into Lurkers, so that he can do, you know, sieges and stuff like that. ShoWTimE, though, is one of those very few and rare players that makes Lurkers look like the worst unit in the game, whereas for most Zergs, it's like one of the best one. And ShoWTimE, a lot of the time, he's going to go into Stargates, play very safe, get 2 Adepts, grab the 3rd base, and then just kind of keep on developing himself. You know, he has a very strong mid to late game, where if he needs to transition into a mothership and air units, he's basically the best in the biz.
Yeah, I was surprised. I had a chat with Stefano as well, and Stefano said that he feels ShoWTimE is vulnerable in this matchup, which I just don't see it. Almost all of his PvZs I've seen in the last week, they look rock solid. Can you cheese him early game? Highly unlikely, because he opens up with a Stargate, which is so strong defensively and shuts down almost any Zerg all in. Mid-game, ShoWTimE is an absolute master in controlling his Immortals, keeping them alive, having Archons in time as well. And the later game, it seems like he always transitions in time to Carriers or Tempest or whatever else he needs. So how do you beat this man in this matchup? I don't know, and I don't think Namshar truly knows either. But he's got a plan, and I'm excited. And see pretty fast carapace there, pneumatized carapace for that Overlord speed.
I think for ShoWTimE to lose, usually it takes some sort of surprise attack or maybe even siege. But he's so good against Lurkers that I almost feel you shouldn't go for them, but they're like one of the best things that you can do if you're going to play with a lot of Hydralisks, which is really like the main meta in the matchup currently, unless you want to do the champ style with roaches, but that didn't go so well for him.
No, he did get close, and it's funny as well, right? Because Namshar, I think, was one of those last European Zergs to stop making roaches. He still does it every now and then, don't get me wrong. Compared to guys like Elaser, Nurchill, Snoot, it feels like they almost completely forgot the roach won't even exist in this matchup. Namshar still has a little bit of love for the roach, but I think you're spot on when you say he loves his lurker timings these days, and they are scary. They're terrifying for most Protosses, except for ShoWTimE, apparently.
Yeah, he's always so good at delaying the siege, which is basically the most important thing you need to do against lurker sieges. And then just take some great engagements. Like, I think there were a couple of games earlier that happened, you know, when we were on the desk of the laptop, where we were both looking at, and we just looked at each other, we were like, oh my god, like, I would have lost that game, you know, every single time that I would have played it. But it's definitely a good quality to have when going up against as many Zergs as he has, and he keeps on meeting Zergs. Every time ShoWTimE comes to play WCS, it's almost as if he should only play custom games against Zergs, really, because that's almost all he meets.
Yep, so far in this tournament, already went up against Champ, took him out 2-0, went up against Hate Me, took him out 2-0 as well, and just looked really good in doing so. Namshar is really on point with his scouting this game. Of course, he went for that Overlord speed upgrade very early on. He's going to spot these additional gateways. He's going to see that there is something on the way. Will probably expect that it is charged, and also sees the Prism, sees both gases in the natural there, and that's important, because now we can probably expect that it's going to be some sort of a Zealot Archon play early on.
Yeah, and you can expect a third base to start momentarily as well for ShoWTimE. It looks like he's going to go for the pocket expansion here, a safer option, especially if you want to have your units out on the map, that you don't need to have any units on your third base kind of defending it against potential links coming and fishing for that cancel. And the Hydralis then now has started here for Namshar, so definitely going to be seeing him using those Hydralis that we see a lot of the time in the matchup. Does he try for Lurker Siege here? That's the thing, like we've already talked about it. ShoWTimE is just so damn good against it, but first, Namshar has to focus on the defense here.
We saw Lambo have some success with Hydra Bane against Neep, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some Hydra Bane here as well. I think it is very, very possible, as he's getting a very good economy. This is too many drones for just Hydras and Zerglings, and we already have that Baneling Nest out. Namshar is going to send a few Zerglings. He's going to spot that Prism. Well, he's going to see it now anyway, because ShoWTimE's on creep, but I don't think ShoWTimE is going to get much done here. These Queens are quite far forward. Good transfuse there, though, and so far Namshar takes absolutely 0 damage.
Yeah, already being on 60 walkers here is a big deal, because now as soon as he's defended this, he can go for the next wave of drones and really keep on building up his economy. And then behind this, you know, start working on the fourth base and all that, but he cannot underestimate the amount of units that are going to be warped in here.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried right now for Namshar, because I don't think he has any Banelings out. He does have a Baneling Nest, he's getting Baneling speed, but it's just Lings and Hydra, so the control is actually going to be pretty important here. These Zealots getting right on top of Zerglings. The Phoenix is going to help out a little bit as well. ShoWTimE has to be careful with his Prism, but this doesn't look good for the Swedish Zerg.
Yeah, ShoWTimE is even going to Storm behind this. This is not meant to kill Namshar. It's supposed to do some damage, and then you pull back when you lose the Zealots. You save the Archons. But right now, he's wrecking that middle line, already sniping 5 drones, chasing the rest away, and everything is dying now for Namshar on that third base.
And there are still so many Zealots alive. I mean, ShoWTimE is just having a ball here. He already evened up the work account. He's going to warp in more Zealots. That Prism is looking very safe. That's a lot. I don't know. Without Banelings, it's going to be almost impossible to kill this amount of Zealots this early on into the game.
An early game aggression here, pressure that apparently was good enough. Accidentally kills him.
Unreal.
That's it, GG. ShoWTimE with a quick and easy game #1 win here.
And did you see that sigh of Namshar? It was almost a sigh of like, here we go again. It's like, I've been here before. ShoWTimE probably surprised about how well that went as well. Did a really good job in hiding those Zealots, right? He pretended like, it's just Archon and rest. But I mean, Namshar scouted the gates. He saw the Twilight. He saw it was researching something. I think that Namshar expected it, but he just thought that his Queens, Lings, and Hydras would have done better. The funny thing is that, though, Todd, if he has 5 Banelings, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. I'm not sure, like I think he must have thought that the Queens were making him extra safe, you know, they can tank a lot of damage at the front, but he didn't see the follow-up warping, which is hard, right? Because the Archons, they kind of chase away, and like the Phoenix as well, the Overlords from that location, so even spotting that, you would have had to be maybe a little bit more active with the Lings. But yeah, like you mentioned it, the Psy, like Namshar, this is really the moment now where he's truly going to be tested mentally, because obviously he knew that he was going to play ShoWTimE from yesterday evening, right? So he's had this whole time to focus on his mindset, work on a good mindset. It sounded like he had just that here coming into this match today when he was talking to Maynard, but now he lost the first game and it's like, is this happening again? And
that's just not a way you want to lose as well. Like, losing it is one thing. Obviously, if this would have been a long, drawn-out game with Storms, Immortal, 5 bases, you can always say, like, maybe that fight wasn't the right choice, maybe bad RB movement there. But this is a phase in the game where a player like Namshar is not supposed to die. He had all the right tools. He invested in Overlord speed. He knew what he was up against. He saw it early on, didn't take any damage from the initial Archons, and then a couple of Zealots show up, and it's just the end. He knows that's not supposed to happen. Other than that, it was a clean game by Namshar. I know that sounds silly, guys, because it feels like nothing happened. But his macro was on point, his economy looked good.
60 drones before starting to make units, which I think is a great number. Like, if you can reach that, I think you're definitely in the game. But he was just behind this. He started droning up a little bit too early. Didn't morph any banelings. Like you mentioned that. I feel like that was maybe the key point as well in defending this, because Zealots, they're going to clump up no matter what. You know, like they charge forward. You can't really split them as they're charging forward.
And even if you like want to really split your Zealots properly, that means that the Zealots are running back, which means they're taking damage from the Queen, they're taking damage from these Hydras. So even just having banelings there, whether you detonate them or not, that is really going to help out a lot in almost any sort of a defense against charge lots early on. Obviously, this is something that our Swedish Zerg is aware of. Our second map is going to be played on Catalyst, and I'm curious to see what we're going to see on this map. Obviously, a much smaller map than Neon Violet Square, but I think it's safe to say we can expect another Stargate opening out of ShoWTimE.
Yeah, he's just so damn good at it. I mean, if he wanted to really try and catch Namshar off guard in one of the games, maybe he could do something different. But does he need to? Not really. Like, he's just so insanely good at Stargates. Gets it almost every single game, always does a good amount of damage. It gives him so much vision.
It almost feels like that's where his build order starts, right? His build is just pylon, low ground, gate, expand, cybercore, take gases, Stargate. All right, let's start the game. You know, where do I take this? Is it gonna? And then he does mix it up a lot. And some people might think like, if he's that predictable, can't you just punish that? The problem is like a Stargate opening is just kind of an even footing, right? Like even if your oracles don't do damage, you're gonna force out a couple spore crawlers. The Protoss is safe against all-ins. You have map presence. Of course, if an oracle does 0 drone damage, doesn't kill a single drone, you could say it's nice for the Zerg, but it really doesn't mean that the Zerg is ahead. What happens after that, that's where we can determine whether or not the Zerg or the Protoss is ahead.
ShoWTimE is actually playing StarCraft 3. He doesn't start with 12 walkers. He starts with a Stargate, a Nexus, and a gate.
And he takes the game from there. As you guys can see, we are ready to continue this best of 5 as we hopped into Catalyst. We're looking at the main base of the German Protoss. He is up 1-0. It is ShoWTimE.
His opponent in the red is facing his great adversary. It is Namshar.
You know, when I think of this bracket, Todd, like you always look at the top side and the bottom side of the bracket, right? And you're like, which one is more stacked or not? But I think in this tournament, you can talk maybe about a big 5 or a big 6 players. I think on the top side, you obviously have Elaser, Neep, and perhaps ShoWTimE if he advances as well. That's 3 of the absolute top dogs in this tourney. And then you might say like, well, the top half is harder. At the same time, in the bottom half, you have Special, you know, the man who went the furthest at the WCS Global Playoffs. You've got Zero as well, perhaps the hottest player in Europe. And let's not count Snoot out either. You always know with Jens, if you don't talk about him a lot, that's where he shines the most.
And Thermal,
yep,
who's facing Special first. Like one of these Terrans will advance on to the next round and I think should have a pretty decent chance to go far if they're on their A game. Like Thermal just had a fantastic Intellectual Masters Katowice qualifiers in which he beat Cyril 3-2.
And Thermal, as long as he doesn't reach any Protosses, which he can't until the final, because all the Protosses were on the top side of the bracket, Thermal might very well be looking at this bracket and be like, all right, this is maybe the best I could have hoped for. Then again, a TVT against Special, I would say aye, because that's not easy for anybody outside of the perhaps top Korean Terrans, but we saw that at the global playoffs. Even for TY, that wasn't easy.
ShoWTimE going on for an early scout here. Again, we expect that Stargate out of him a lot of the time. And Catalyst is one of those maps where if Namshar can, you know, weather the storm early on, because it's always going to be ShoWTimE using the Stargate units, using a couple of depths, always kind of being aggressive. And last game that was with Archons and Charge Lots. If Namshar can make sure it doesn't take too much damage from that, or even not any, then we go into a very, very different game where he's the one trying to be aggressive with the Hydralisks, with potential lurkers. Even if he was to go into something like Bane and trying to drop, the thing is, ShoWTimE is so solid against all of these things that it's hard to pick one and do it well enough that you can actually make it work.
Now, ShoWTimE has been switching it up a lot after the Stargate, though, lately, guys. And there is a good chance that he's going to be very aggressive in this matchup, right? He might just pretend everything is normal. Oracle Phoenix, he's like, oh, don't worry, same as always. And then suddenly, instead of 4 gateways, it's 7 or 8 gates. And it could be a bunch of adepts. It could be a lot of charge slots as well. We're, of course, going to keep a close eye on it. And I am sure that Namshar is going to try to keep a close eye on it as well. But the main difference here, so far, is that there is no Overlord speed this game.
Yeah, Namshar getting an Evo Chamber decently early, though. Maybe looking to try and drop. Like, he's got 2 Overlords decently placed here in spots where he could go for that, but we got Got a pylon here in a good location to try and spot that from ShoWTimE, and that one Phoenix actually kind of flying past the middles here for now.
Oh, this would be bad, because ShoWTimE needs to identify that this is a lot of links. I think he kind of knows, but both adepts will fall, and this is a link flood out. I think it's a double Overlord drop on both sides. Now he's gonna find one, which is very nice, but will ShoWTimE be in time to react against the other one? Without
the
shield...
pylon.
Yeah,
He's not close enough to see that one, maybe.
nope, and it's still gonna be hard anyway. Even if he spots it, it takes a long time for the Phoenix to kill that Overlord. Namshar is all out here with his Ling aggression, and without a shield battery top, no Zealot in the wall either, I think ShoWTimE's in trouble.
He's gonna start a shield battery behind his adept here, most likely. There it is, but the links in the main are now being dropped. ShoWTimE not quite ready for this just yet. Let's see what he can do.
Oh, needs to react quicker though. He lost a couple of probes there already, and without a shield battery, that is tough. He did re-wall, and he actually kept the adept safe. So far, this is quite well done by ShoWTimE, but he's definitely not out of the woods just yet.
Yeah, that adept here behind the wall. One of them almost dies. Oh, it goes down. That's a big deal, because that's a huge part of the damage of ShoWTimE. That was 50% of his army right there.
Yep, and there is no additional Oracle on the map either. There is no Void Ray on the map.
He needs to re-wall behind the left-hand side gate.
What is that Zealot doing? It was attacking the Cybercore. That's not what you want to do. I think that Wallop is too late. The Lings are going to flood in. And can ShoWTimE hold with only 2 units? The answer is no. Namshar evens it up. Well, that's one way to bounce back in this best of 5, though.
I said it, catching him off guard is going to be key, and Namshar does just that here in game number 2. Definitely a bit of a mistake though by ShoWTimE. I think if he made a pylon on left hand side of the gate here, like if you just have to re-wall right against this, because the links were not being dropped anymore.
But it's still
Would have
tough.
been able to hold, I think.
I think he would have absolutely been able to hold if he had money for another Stargate unit, I felt, because he lost his Cybercore. You know, you don't really have any DPS behind your wall, right? So as long as you re-wall, but there's only one adept, those links are just going to keep breaking down buildings and buildings until your Oracle has some energy again.
Yeah.
But one Oracle...
Losing the one adept that he lost, that was 50% of his army. He had 2 adepts.
Against that one Ling as well. And of course, the first 2 adepts on the south side of the map. And I
Also,
felt...
not catching that Overlord on the left-hand side. Imagine if he does that, it's a game changer. Then the links have to be dropped into the natural. So for that Phoenix to have flown past that, definitely a very unfortunate here for ShoWTimE.
Or a single shield battery in the main mineral line, right? Because 8 links, you can easily fight that with your probes if you have a shield battery. 16 links becomes a little more difficult, but it was just 8 links at first. So Namshar, with his plan on Catalyst, evens up the series, and that must feel really good, Todd, especially after that first game. Now you just completely forget about what happened on Neon Violet Square, and you're like, all right, let's hop into one of those newer maps, as we are looking at the lobby of Backwater.
A great map to do, actually, the double Overlord drop if you wanted to flood links in, but it's known for that, so you can expect ShoWTimE, especially after what we just saw, to go the extra mile with the scouting here, and making sure it doesn't let that happen again. Because now we have that weird dynamic, you know, finally Namshar won a map, but in an unconventional way, you know, with the link floods. ShoWTimE's going to be very well aware of the possibility of this happening again.
But Namshar is absolutely not thinking about that. He's just like, nice, it's even. And I still think you got lucky on Neon Violet. So technically I'm ahead in this one, Todd. As we're getting ready to hop into game number 3. We're looking at the main base of our German Protoss representing Arma team. Give it up for ShoWTimE.
Southeast position in the red, playing Zerg. It is Namshar.
Namshar has definitely been sort of a gatekeeper of the European scene for a long time. He's a guy that we're not surprised. You see him in the top 8, top 16. He's an absolute regular at that point. You know, top 16, you can almost feel his name in before any foreign tournament these days. But he doesn't break into the top 4 very often, and we've never actually seen him in a big offline finals. We know that he's capable of it, because he's beat almost anybody of these guys, besides the man that he's facing right now.
But it's usually like he beats one of the absolute top players, but then that's it. You know, in the rest of the tournament, that kind of won't happen again. So he needs to start on, I guess, getting consistent results against the top of the, I guess, foreign scene, we could call it, WCS Circuit here.
His ZVZ definitely seems to be on point, though, as he made it out of that all-Zerg group with Stefano, Scarlet, and Zero in it as well. And that was a very tough group. That wasn't easy for any of those Zergs. But Namshar showing that his ZVZ absolutely is on point. I think he calls it his strongest matchup as well. He feels good in it. But, all Unless you're ShoWTimE, you need to prepare for all 3 matchups. ShoWTimE just needs to worry about PvZ.
Apparently, yeah. In every WCS tournament, that's what we've seen from him. But to be honest, he's good against every race.
Yeah.
No weakness.
ShoWTimE likes to keep his scouting probe around as well. I felt that ShoWTimE expected something, and I think that's what he wanted to scout in the previous game with his 2 adapts, but got a little bit unlucky. Sometimes you shade a second earlier, and then both adapts live, they're low on HP, but then you kind of get a big red flag saying, all right, there is something up on the other side of the map. We're gonna see once again the Stargate. We are not Nostradamus, guys. That was not tough to predict. It's just what ShoWTimE likes to do. Yeah. And I think that ShoWTimE also he feels, is like, man, I lost to a Link flood, you know. There's a reason why I open up with a Stargate, so I don't lose to Link floods. But a couple things went wrong there. And against those rushy builds, it's tough. You make one big mistake and you're obviously in a lot of trouble.
He seems to go for Phoenix first a lot, so I think this time around he's going to make sure he finds the Overlord around his base, or like the Overlords, both of them. Usually there's 2. And as long as you can clean those guys, you know you're not going to be dropped anymore.
His adept is going to keep a close eye on what is happening on the other side of the map. He wants to see all the way in, and he's going to be able to identify that there is indeed a third hatchery on the way. It is once again a Phoenix first. This game there is Overlord speed, and perhaps that is an indicator that Namshar wants to play a macro game. In the previous game he didn't do it, and that's why perhaps he went all in, because he needed that gas, or he just wanted a tiny bit of gas to more of those Overlords into Drop-A-Lords. But perhaps this is a little bit more macro-oriented out of our Swedish Zerg.
You know, we mentioned ShoWTimE facing Zergs in all those WCS tournaments. If he wins here, he has to play Bly or True. Right now, True's up to 1. And then, if he wins that, it would be Serral, Massa, sort of, or Nurcho. So a potential of 3 Zergs or 1 Terran. So it just keeps going.
Yeah, he could potentially get Elaser, right? If Elaser takes out Neep on the top side.
Oh, yeah, no, that's right. Actually, yeah, he's on this side. Yeah, so Elaser or Neep.
Yeah. If he would get Elaser, he could once again have an all Zerg route to the final. And in the final, there's a good chance he gets a Zerg as well.
Usually, Elaser is the one that's happy if he gets ShoWTimE in a way, right? We all remember what happened at the global finals. So, yeah, ShoWTimE, like it's insane to see him time after time. A lot of players, they kind of run out of builds as well, but ShoWTimE is just so solid that he doesn't even mind playing the same matchup so many times in a row, because, you know, he's got that main standard style that he's perfected.
Yep. We have the robotics facility on the way. Additional gases have been taken as well by our German Protoss. He's making multiple Phoenixes, Todd. I am very happy. I don't get to cast these games very often. I will never forget, once upon a time, I casted a game of ShoWTimE where he went Zealots and he got +1 air weapons as well, and he just kept making Phoenix against Kane, the Canadian Zerg back then. It was one of my favorite games.
He made a warp gate here. Yeah. The observer is pointing out, so this is not quite a Roddy build.
We need warp gate against Zerg, Todd. You can only play no warp gate against Protoss, but hey, I like this. Look at the amount of damage he's going to be able to do here. Namshar is probably like, what? A bunch of Phoenixes? Like, who does that these days? And now I wonder if Namshar's plan is going to change. Is he just going to go for a Hydra Link timing? Because that could be the weakness of a Protoss that makes a lot of Phoenix, unless they have a Twilight console upgrade. But ShoWTimE is actually going to play Phoenix Colossus. Damn.
Yeah, grabbing that Robo Bay here. I mean, Namshar, the problem is here, he can't rally units between his bases, because otherwise they're going to get picked off by those Phoenixes consistently and keep on dying.
I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of that lift, but he does cancel the lift and he's going to kill 1 queen. Now he's going to get the second one as well, so I am a fan in the end. One of these Phoenixes pushed the other Phoenix in range of that Spore Crawler, but ShoWTimE did economic damage. Now he got 2 queens as well. The only thing he needs to do is fly into the main ones just to see if there is indeed like a Hydralisk den, if there is a Baneling Nest or not. He's going to spot it right now. He's going to get a few more probes, and I think from this point ShoWTimE knows, all right, let's chrono boost the hell out of my robotics facility, get a Colossus out, and at that point I'm all good.
Yeah, he's already got a shield battery in the wall as well. If there were to be some sort of siege, that would help quite a bit. Already being well saturated on 3 bases, like even on the walker counts, even on the army counts, the supplies dead even, but the damage that he's dealt is already massive. Can we look at the units lost?
This is a beautiful Phoenix play. 0, Todd. 0 units lost. He's got 7 drones. He's got 4 overlords. He's got 2 queens as well. And these Phoenixes, all of them are still quite healthy. There's a good chance that you can pick off a couple Hydras. Of course, Hydras are light. Phoenixes do extra damage. And Namshar, if he was thinking about hitting some sort of timing, he has absolutely changed his mind. Now he's even pulling drones away against the Phoenixes as well. Namshar is obviously not happy, and I think ShoWTimE is very happy about this game so far.
Time's lost about as many units so far as he's lost series against Namshar. That might change in a second. You might want to start being careful when there's this many Hydralisks out on the map. And I think, is that a perfectly placed observer? Just right above there, yeah. To see what's being produced and what's going to be headed towards him. Obviously, one thing you need to kind of worry about from this point is usually lurkers, but because he has so many Phoenixes, he could actually pick up so many of these lurkers if they were to even enter the field and push towards him. So we got the Infestation Pit starting now from Namshar. Are you thinking Swarm Host or Infestors to try and catch the Phoenix?
I think Infestors, because I think what Namshar is hoping that there is an Archon Zealot follow-up, and Infestors are very good against Phoenix, Archons, and Zealots. Against Colossus, not that much. I'd be shocked to see Swarm Host here, because I actually think Phoenix are quite useful against Swarm Host. They can gun down those locusts in the air already. But we do see a lot of additional drones on the way. Surprise us, Namshar. I find this a tough call to make, because we don't get to see Phoenix that often anymore at this level. But I am very happy to see it.
Yeah, it's quite a few of them as well. He didn't cut that the 4 that we used to see. And just like that, finally Namshar is killing a few units.
My babies thought. My children. I am
They did a lot of work already, to be fair.
Yeah, no, they were worth their investment, I think it's safe to say. So
Roach Warren and Hive starting.
I am a little bit confused, and I think perhaps Namshar is even a little bit confused as well. He's got a crazy amount of free supply. Now we do have the Lurker then as well. He's just getting everything.
I guess Roach, Hydra, Viper.
And Lurkers.
Everything.
And a few Roaches as well.
DJ throwing in random tunes.
He's got Bailing Nest too. Like, he's got all the tech, though. But yeah, I think you're kind of right with that one. He doesn't have a Spy. That's the only building that he's truly missing. So I think you're right. Maybe he wants to get Lurkers, a couple Vipers as well, and then a few Hydras. With a couple of Roaches in the mix as well in case he gets broke. But
you know, every time I see this move out, I'm like, he's so brave. Because whenever I would move out like this, I would just get caught by massive Zerg army and lose everything. But these top Protosses, they're so good at reading the game, at knowing exactly what the opponent has. I guess that Observer, by the way, has been very helpful in that.
Yep.
He's even placed it around the main base here to time the Hive perfectly. Technically, you don't need to attack Zerg up until the point they get to Hive. You know, like if you're massing on 3 or 4 bases, your army will end up being way better. So now the Observer finally gets sniped, but ShoWTimE immediately going into a fleet beacon, and we all know what comes from there. It's a mothership, additional Stargates, and usually he gets the exact right units that he needs to get against whatever Namshar's getting, whether it's Void Rays, Tempest, or Carriers. And I think in this case, maybe Carriers.
yeah, I think this is a decent game to go Carriers for sure, especially when he spotted that there was all these auto attack buildings going down. I like that Namshar tried to get a couple of Roaches, because I think he spotted the army of ShoWTimE. He's like, hey, if you only have Colossus, no Immortals, Roaches can actually survive for a little while. We've got 4 Dropalords. Is he gonna go for a Doom drop into the main base? I have the feeling that... Wow, okay. 9
Lurkers morphing, digging Claws on the way as well, which is one of the best upgrades, I think, right now. That's.
I think he spotted it. I think ShoWTimE saw that. I think he repositioned. We're going to get a couple of additional Stargates. It's Tempest for now. There is a Mothership on the way, too. Now, this can still get very dicey for ShoWTimE if he's out of position against these big drops. But it's going to be so hard for Namshar to sneak a massive army. Oh, he could just drop into the 3rd base. That's actually pretty good.
I think that's the plan here, to bring ShoWTiME's army out of position. This is kind of like the weak timing, so to speak, of ShoWTimE, where he's doing the carrier transition. The Mothership is not out just yet, but he's running some Zealots by, and he catches the Lurkers, so many of them! Storms are gonna land on top of them.
They love those Storms, and he's gonna be able to lift a couple of them as well. Look at these Phoenixes
still being useful. And he could just recall on the 3rd base. The only attack of Namshar right now is gonna be that big drop on the 3rd base, which I think ShoWTimE can just recall on top of, and he does just that! Oh my god.
And these Overlords are going to have a very tough time getting out of there. That means all of these units are going to get slaughtered here for Namshar, and his supply is plummeting. And with Carriers on the way, Todd, you don't want to be down 40 army supply as a Zerg.
Resources lost now massively in favor of ShoWTimE. He's killed so much and lost so little. And his army is going to be massive. He could literally just go across the map, counter-attack, even though, like, at this stage, his army shouldn't have been ready yet to take on what Namshar has. And I mean, he's currently making Carriers against mass Lurkers.
Those are some very, very, very brave Zealots, Todd. They were going a little ham on those Lurkers.
They were expendable.
Yes, they were. Because ShoWTimE is just going to replace those Zealots with Archons. He's got Carriers. That Mothership is about to pop as well. He's got very good upgrades on the way. +3 attack already, +1 air weapons, Graviton Catapult. what more can you really wish for? I wouldn't wait too long if I was ShoWTimE. I'd be looking at my army, I'd be like, you know what, I'm maxed out, I killed a bunch of your units, I had a good early game, I did economic damage. Is there a reason for me to sit back here? No, I actually like my army, let's battle.
I think he's a bit afraid of a counterattack. Remember, digging claws is very scary, right? Lurkers, they burrow almost instantaneously. They bust down buildings very fast. And I think that's what Namshar is looking to do. He knows that if he takes the army of ShoWTimE head-on, it's not going to go so well. But now he's going to find himself up on this side of the map. If these overseers die here, there's not going to be any detection.
I know, we don't have a dog shrine though, do we?
Yeah, but the mothership can cloak everything.
Yeah, that's a very good point there as well. You can just send in the carriers anyway. The carriers can just kill. There are 4 or 5 Hydras there,
Oh my God.
There's just not enough anti-air here for Namshar. I think that Namshar was hoping that the carriers were not out yet, but these carriers are actually out. And that means that these lurkers are going to have a very tough time getting out of here. And it's safe to say they will never get out of there. A couple of Hydras coming in from the right side. That is simply not enough. I think Namshar is like, all right, I'm going to lose his army. Let's just try to do as much damage as possible. But he doesn't even get the Nexus.
Yeah, and what is he supposed to remake behind this? He's getting 20 Hydralisks, but he's lost so much that his economy has been spent for the most part. Remaxing out is going to be very difficult from there for Namshar. I mean, what is he supposed to do, really? Like, he can't even go for Brood Lords at this point, it feels like.
I think he was hoping that the max amount of carriers he would face there is 1, perhaps 2, right?
Yeah.
Without upgrades. And then a couple of Hydras could shoot down the interceptors. And ShoWTimE would be in a rough spot. But ShoWTimE was probably looking at us like, yo, you actually have like 5 Hydras there. I've got 4 carriers already. You know, this is really nice for you to just donate all these lurkers. Now Namshar remax on Hydras, but he's down 30 army supply. He's gonna have a very tough time securing additional bases, and the only thing he can hope for is just to catch ShoWTimE out of position and force a weird space trade, I think, and then remax on Corruptus perhaps.
Yeah, he's gonna keep on being aggressive here. Try to keep ShoWTimE on his side of the map. Try to keep buying time and maybe just pull him apart and eventually do enough damage that he can win the game. But it's gonna be really hard. It's funny, Namshar killed the Cybercore and ShoWTimE was like, oh yeah, thanks for reminding me to make double Cybercore so I can get some air upgrades, which he should be starting, I'm sure, momentarily, as he's adding more gates right now.
The armies are getting close towards each other in the top side of the map, so that does mean we have another big Hydra drop, as we have a couple of lurkers as well. That big Hydra drop is gonna fly into cannons and Phoenixes at the same time. Fortunately for Namshar, a couple of these Hydras do unload and actually still do a lot of damage in this base, Johan.
Yeah, he could kill that and then recall, I guess.
Or he could just send a couple carriers and clean it up. Ooh, Lurk is coming in as well. He's going to recall half his army.
Yeah, drunk.
So that means that once again Namshar lost a lot, but this time he did get that Nexus. I feel this was the most successful drop so far, even though it looked very dicey at first. Into those cannons, into the Phoenix as well. But now the Hydras on the right side are finding a little bit of success too. A Colossus went down, a couple cannons go down, perhaps a Void Ray could go down here as well. Namshar thought is starting to find some openings. Look at all these trades. These Hydras are trading excellently on pretty much every single part of the map. The biggest problem still is the carrier.
Yeah, and I mean, Namshar is doing some damage here and there, but...
Damn, ShoWTimE has lost a lot of
the army of
workers.
ShoWTimE is very scary still, 120 to 78. So even though ShoWTimE's economy is not the greatest right now, as long as he keeps a good worker count alive, and right now he's up to 44, he's going to be able to remax eventually and still have that very scary army. Whenever have you seen a mothership teeing up 2 Hydras in the main base?
The big downside of ShoWTimE is that obviously to have a lot of carriers and be very effective with them, you need to be rich. And with 45 probes, you're going to have a hard time really getting any sort of a bank at all. He needs to start he needs to fix his economy. He's got 6 probes on that gas. He's not having anything on the minerals here. He lost his Nexus. He doesn't have any probes here. Namshar is actually making a remarkable comeback happen in a game where I thought it was almost all over. He has taken a couple of excellent trades. Where are these carriers, Todd?
I mean, they're not there apparently, trailing a little bit behind there, as Namshar is still maxed out and building up an economy. He keeps on producing very inexpensive units, throwing them at ShoWTimE and doing just enough damage for it to be worth it. Now Hydra is going to try to deal with the carriers. Storm on top of his
own carrier. That High Templar is mad at the carrier. He's like, you guys were late.
Do your job.
Do you know how many fellow High Templars have fallen because you guys weren't here? I think it is very important to see soon if ShoWTimE actually fixes economy, because that is the one way. ShoWTimE still got the stronger units and he still got the stronger army, but he took a massive economic blow.
49 walkers to 79 now, and on the other side of the map, it's not like Namshar is taking any economic damage in the meantime. He's been left alone for the most part just by keeping ShoWTimE very busy on this side of the map.
These drops have been very useful. That Hydra drop, it looked like, that's going to be painful. Cannons, Phoenix, defensive warpins, but it still did so much damage. And then Namshar did a really good job in running everything into the left top side of the map as well. This drop, though, Todd, if it flies into carriers, I am not a believer. And I don't think Namshar is either.
Yeah, it just pulls back right on time here so he can drop and evacuate. The army at the top is going to be the one that's under threat here.
Storms, though.
Oh, he has so many High Templars.
That's going to be very tough for Namshar to run into this army. There's a couple carries in the mix as well. I think ShoWTimE would just attack move. ShoWTimE is probably just worried. He's like, I'm kind of broke. I really don't want to lose any units right now. Good movement there on the mothership as well, tanking a little bit of damage. Obviously, the mothership has a massive amount of shields.
ShoWTimE has finally split well enough that he can defend very effectively here between those two bases that were the two main ones being sieged consistently. And Corruptors actually on the production right now, a whole 16 of them from Namshar. There is only 2 Void Rays, but I mean, there is some Archon, there is a lot of High Templars ready to storm.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see if they can do anything.
Yep, ShoWTimE has to be careful. He had recalled not too long ago, so I'm not sure if he can recall here in time with all the Corruptors on the way. ShoWTimE still does not have the economy thought to just lose 3 carriers. You could see on the top side, he even had a very tough time rebuilding the interceptors that he was losing.
Yeah.
Look, they're still not maxed out.
His income here finally gonna start kicking back up as this Nexus at the top side completes.
What a fun game
with this army there. The Lurkers are doing a good job on the ground, kind of zoning the ground army of ShoWTimE away, but eventually, if he's able to break through here, he's gonna crush all of this. And another drop here gonna be... Actually, no, that's Corruptors jumping on top of carriers on the bottom left-hand side.
I would recall those carriers. I mean, there's a shield battery, but carriers alone exposed against Corruptors like this, they're gonna have a very bad time, and that is a very expensive loss there for ShoWTimE. Well done by Namshar. Is going to use caustic spray as well on that Nexus. Namshar is losing the fight on the right side, though, but those carriers being that exposed, no Stalkers, no Archons, no Storm, no Void Rays to help him out, meant 3 dead carriers, and that's a pretty big deal.
And it feels like at this point, it's time for ShoWTimE to just attack, right? But a lot of the time from there, I've seen players just gonna sit back and try to re-expand anyway. Corruptors, though, they have the ultimate mobility. They are very fast. They are gonna keep on casting caustic spray on everything at this point, and
There's
not targeting that Stargate.
There's a
I think he's gonna attack. He has to.
There's a mighty Stalker there, though. That's gonna push a lot of them away. Namshar is probably just looking which Nexus shall I go for. I think ShoWTimE is following your advice, Todd. I think ShoWTimE has had enough of this game. He's like, you've thrown away so many units that I highly doubt, especially if your Corruptors are not at home, that you can defend against my army. But does ShoWTimE have the economy to rebuild the interceptors that he's going to lose? That's what I'm really worried about. Because carriers are awesome, but if you don't have any money, they're not that great. This Nexus is going to go down as well, and that's going to put ShoWTimE in an almost all-in position with this push.
They've got equal army supplies here. This is it. ShoWTimE has to win the game with his army. Remember, the Corruptors are not there yet. He's trying to jump on top of this Hydralisk and kill them. The Lurkers all gone, not zoning out the ground anymore at this point. Storms are gonna land on top of everything that they can at this point.
Namshar's in a rough spot there because his units are all over the place and it's really hard to sync up your army there. Corruptors are wasting time fighting a single Phoenix while more and more Hydras were burned by these Colossus. ShoWTimE is still remaking a couple of interceptors. He's still got 24 on these 4 or 5 carriers that he has. Even the Stalkers that he warped in are going to help out as well. And this Zerg army thought looks very, very trapped in this corner.
Yeah, finally Namshar brings back the Corruptors into the fight. Storm is going to land on top of the entire Zerg army, and ShoWTimE goes up 2-1.
Damn, what a fun game on Backwater here, where ShoWTimE had an awesome start. We saw some Phoenix action, which is something we don't see that often on this level anymore. I think it worked out fantastically. I think ShoWTimE was in a super good position, but that one Hydra drop really turned this game upside down and made it so much harder for ShoWTimE.
Yeah, remember, it's easy to forget about the long cooldown on recall, and I think Namshar used that very well. He forced the first recall, and then the next time he came back quick enough that that wasn't available. And if you don't have perfect vision on what's coming onto that third base and being dropped there, you know, it's very hard to split the units exactly properly. One thing that I've noticed though with ShoWTimE, like he does the transitions perfectly. I don't know if he thinks that he's just not worth it, but he never grabs the Dark Shrine anymore. Even when he's on 4 or 5 bases, even though it's very inexpensive. I guess most good Zergs, they will have Overseers anyway. But there are always some moments where you might be able to snipe the 1 or 2 that they have, and then DTs could buy you some time in a game like this.
Especially against a drop right. Either way, we are watching a very fun best of 5 between these two fantastic StarCraft players. We're gonna head over to a very small break, and after that we'll be back with Namshar versus ShoWTimE Game 4. Welcome back, Leipzig, and everybody else that's watching from the internet, as we are getting ready to hop into game number 4 between ShoWTimE and Namshar. The game is going to be played on Blackpink, and I feel if there is one map where I feel ShoWTimE has been looking incredibly solid, or just feeling solid, rock solid overall.
It's all of them?
Yes, but especially Blackpink. I feel like he's so good on this map. He reads it so well, and I feel almost nothing surprises him on this one.
And when nothing surprises him, usually the game goes his way. That's what we've seen from ShoWTimE in the past. Damn, I really thought he was in big trouble actually last game after he started losing a lot of units, and his bank was gone just like that. You know, like carriers, they are very expensive units, especially when you have to start rebuilding interceptors. So Namshar hit at just the right time, but it was just not quite enough. And here we go. Game number 4 on Blackpink, starting in the bottom left-hand side of the map, playing as the Blue Protoss. It is Arma Team's ShoWTimE.
I always love ShoWTimE's posture while he's playing. You know, calm and composed doesn't even do it justice. He just He never really shakes his head too much. He doesn't look desperate when things go wrong. He just stays so calm and steady. And I do think that really helps him. Over here on the right top side, we're looking at the main base of the Swedish Zerg. Give it up for Namshar. The audience here is like, no, we're not going to give it up for Namshar. We're giving it up for ShoWTimE.
Namshar is slightly slouching, you know, compared to ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE is like, he's sitting straight every single time I've looked at him.
It's like Hazoobs.
Was he like that?
Yeah, Hazoobs really lean pretty far back. He always hit a super straight back. I think it's funny as well.
What it is. They just want to be Mr. Perfect or something. You know? Like, I'm here hunched like over, looking like the ultimate nerd playing video games.
Early probe scout, of course, by ShoWTimE. Doesn't want to be surprised by anything crazy like a 12 pull or a 13-12, but Namshar is not your type of Zerg to do that very often, especially not with his tournament life on the line. Namshar is a player that has a lot of confidence in himself. He also still believes that he's still growing, and he's still getting better with each and every single year. He, throughout the last year, made a couple of big changes into the way he plays. I think he changed hotkeys, changed some other stuff about the way he sees the game. He said, I knew it was going to take some time before the results will kick in, but I truly believe that this will allow me to take that final step to, instead of being a good European, being an absolute top European.
Did he get rid of that F2?
No one should ever get rid of F2 top.
Everybody.
No, it's the greatest hotkey in the game. What are you talking about?
I'll keep an eye on his hotkeys. I want to see. I want to see if he's a user or not. It's always interesting. Some players that have actually reached the top, they manage to use F2 very effectively.
Yeah, no. I think it is something that is tempting, right? And it's something that you need to learn how to control. You can't overuse it.
Yeah.
If you press it once, you know, it's tempting. Your brain is like, just a little F2, man. What's the worst thing that could happen? We all F2 a little bit every now and then. And before you know it, Todd, you don't even use control groups anymore. It's a slippery slope,
Hey,
that F2.
F2 is a control group, technically.
Yeah.
It's the one for your entire army. You don't even have to bind it.
Now, I think finding a perfect balance between obviously still relying on your control groups, but there are smart ways to use F2. You can find units without looking at it. You can add units to control groups without looking at them. And every now and then when you've got the perfect surround, you'll never get a better engagement than with F2, because that's when everything arrives at the same time. It's a fun discussion, you know. I know that our boy Piggy is a big, he's a big no-knower when it comes to the F2. He doesn't believe. But I think that's the beauty of StarCraft as well. We all have our own opinions.
He only made top 8 in the casters tournament. For you guys wondering, that might not be that familiar with F2, is the select all army hotkey. Many players rely on.
Some a little too much, and some perhaps a little too little, but that is a discussion that I don't think everybody will ever agree upon what is right or wrong, but I'm a pretty strong believer in my opinion in that one. But let's talk about this PvZ, Todd, as you have the layer halfway down for Namshar. So I am expecting a very fast Hydra then here, as this is of course a 3-base opening for our Swedish Zerg. There is no Sport Crawler here. This Oracle should be able to get 4 or 5 drones, Todd.
Yeah. Looks like he's going to get right to work here. Namshar taking some time to bring the second queen from the natural base. ShoWTimE will evacuate, but not before killing 4 drones, taking him to 40 walkers to 36.
And there is a good chance that ShoWTimE is like, you know what? If I kill 4 drones this quickly, that's
yeah. How do you say aye, aye in German?
Probably just the same, but with a slight German accent. And you ended with ja bitte. Ja bitte. Viele gateways, super. There's a good chance we're going to see something like that. But for now, the audience loves it. But for now, there is a robotics facility on the way as well. But that is 4 gates though, Todd, so we were not too far off. He could lift the queen, and now the Oracle just has free reign over his main base.
God, this is not going to end anytime soon here. Some more drones falling. Is it going to be Charge or Glaives? Looks like Charge once again. As ShoWTimE is already manning from 4 gases, so I guess
it's not super all-in, but at the same time, it's one of... Ooh, that's a fast lurker then. That probably means we're going to see a few less... That is a 40 drone lurker then?
Yeah, but the problem is that he already lost drones. If he tries to replace them at any cost, then he's not going to have enough units to deal with whatever is going to be thrown at him. We saw what happened first game. Namshar just didn't have enough. Initially he had enough, then he didn't.
I am a little bit worried here for Namshar, because like you said, Todd, whenever Zerg players lose drones early on, they feel they need to replace them as quickly as possible and hope that they don't face too many units. But this is quite similar to what we saw on Neon Violet Square, guys. This is one of these openings that you have to respect a lot. Now, there are Hydras on the way, but I think the first big battle will happen before the Lurkers are ever out, and then it's going to be pure Hydra against Archon Zealot again, and we know that that is not an easy fight for the Zerg.
And Charge makes this so scary, especially with low units counts. Now ShoWTimE's gonna start on moving across the map here with his entire army. He's already got so many Zealots and Archons, he's gonna keep on warping in more. Namshar is only getting units. Let's see if he can get enough army here to hold on against this and then maybe get some Lurkers for a counter-attack. But for now, it's gonna be the defense that's the priority.
Without any spine crawlers as well, Todd, that's gonna be so hard. It really all comes down to, can these Zealots somehow stay protected? Maybe in the mineral line, use the drones or something, but just in a wide open area like this, I am not sure if that's gonna be enough. The kiting is good so far though by Namshar. The Prism takes a lot of damage, the Prism falls, and that is crucial here for Namshar, and that should allow him to stabilize.
Yeah, and from there, ShoWTimE, I mean, he can't really pull back anymore. He has to commit. He jumps on top of this army. A nice stop command here on the drones to prevent this army from going inside. The Archon's not able to attack for a little bit of the time, and Namshar with some beautiful hit and run here, catching up to this army. And he's gonna get the cleanup here. That was supposed to be a whole lot scarier than this, but Namshar gets the hold.
An uncharacteristic mistake there by ShoWTimE, overextending with that Warp Prism, and Namshar didn't blink twice.
The Oracle.
He just got, Oracle takes a lot of damage as well in the main. Now, actually, Namshar's just gonna try to counter that with Hydra Ling, even though he has a Lurker then. He's like, you know what?
And Storm is not done.
I don't even think, is there like an observer? I think there's one observer somewhere. Okay, it is with the army here. But losing those two Archons, ShoWTimE could have potentially end the game with his push. Instead, he finds himself in quite a bit of trouble. But Johan, we said it before, ShoWTimE holds when you feel like almost no other Protoss can. But that is a good snipe as well by Namshar.
Yeah, and Lurkers are going to be so scary at this stage in the game. There is no Immortals to really help against these guys right now.
No shield battery in the natural either.
Oh, only one pylon!
Powering two gateways and the robotics facility. Storms do connect with quite a few Hydras. They're going to morph into Archons. The Lurker is doing some damage from the right side, but it just feels that ShoWTimE doesn't have the right amount of units anymore, Johan.
When Immortal comes out, but it's going to get targeted by this Hydralisk immediately and go down, and I think Namshar might just have too little too much here. That Prism lost, and the hold by Namshar, and the counter-attack with just so few Lurkers, but enough to deal so much damage to these Zealots. He's right now applying so much pressure to ShoWTimE, who's trying to hold on for dear life. That pylon, I can't believe he's still there, by the way.
Yeah, but not for long. That means no power to this robotics facility. It's 45 army supply against 18. Only 42 drones for Namshar. Namshar didn't have a great early game here, losing all those drones against the Oracles, but it doesn't matter. Eye of the Tiger here. He just ran across the map. Could trap the Immortal perhaps with the Zerglings, doesn't do that. But I think with the reinforcements, Johan, 48 supply. He's still got that Lurker as well that's still alive. I think that's all he wrote. GG. Namshar ties it up. And he's doing what he's never done before, and that is push ShoWTimE to game 5.
Wow. What a hold by Namshar after the initial mistake of not getting a spore early on against the Stargate opener. Almost as if he wanted that to happen. He's like, you know what, let me throw a couple drones, make him overconfident, make him attack. I'll have the crazy defense. Obviously, that's not what happened.
That's a tough one for ShoWTimE. We just said how calm and composed he looks the majority of the time, but ShoWTimE knows after an opening like that, and obviously the way that Neon Violet Square played out, he knows that if he keeps that Prism alive, he wipes in a few more Zealots, takes a good fight, it is game-ending damage there. It could have very well been the end. But Namshar, like I said, he didn't skip a beat. He saw a Prism, and all he saw thought was cash money.
He was a hammer and all he saw was a nail.
Yes. He was Nathanius in a place full of chicken tenders.
Well,
we
don't know how that goes.
He dived right on top of it.
Those of you that don't know, wherever we go, Nathanias, he goes back to basics, you know? A McDonald's, a KFC, whichever one is in the area, will be his choice of meal.
Nate could choose between a Michelin star restaurant or chicken tendies. He would go for chicken tendies any day of the week. He's like, those places look way too complicated.
The Michelin star chef in the face. Say, get out of my way, I got some chicken tenders to eat.
Alrighty, as you guys see, Namshar needs a small moment before we hop into this very important game 5. So we're just gonna throw it over to the desk real quick to see what is happening in some of these other round of 16 matches.
Thank you very much, Rotterdam. I got distracted. He was talking about chicken tenders. All of a sudden, my world flipped upside down. But man, hell of a match they've got going on over there, huh?
Yeah, game 5, dude, down to the wire. Will the streak be broken, or will it continue?
The 17 and oh no, perhaps Zombie Grub.
I don't know. Yeah, that Warp Prism was a big mistake in that last game. I think that same attack actually would do a lot better in game number 5.
All right. Well, that series has been pretty crazy. We were following some of the other matches, man. I think the one you were looking at before is already over because this match has been taking forever. You're already into the next series?
Yeah, it looks like I'm pretty sure it's game 2 between sort of Nurtio, with Nurtio being on top here. And I'm actually going the lazy option and locking onto the Rifkin cam right now, so I don't have to do any observing at all. But Nurtio is running in, he's trying to do it for a bit of a run by, sort of with a pretty solid defense all around. He actually had a sick Banelink connection earlier that unfortunately, we didn't get to see. But it's just Ling Bane Wars right now, man. It is, as my brother Pig would call my countrymen, a knife fight in a phone booth.
Yeah, well, they're trying to make that transition into the Roaches. We'll see. Well, we'll see how this goes. I'm not the ZVZ expert, as you know, but it's sort of, I would say, is in a much more dominant position just because of the fact that his army is going to be a lot better. It looks like
it's the classic, I think, all-in versus layer +1 that ZVZ does boil down to a lot of the time. So, thank you.
You know too much, Zombie Grub. Aren't you a Terran player? Why do you know about ZVZ? What's going on here?
I don't know. I look at the upgrades and I look at the lack of upgrades and I'm like,
You could also say you're just doing your job. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
It's okay. Zombie Grub doing a great job here, ladies and gentlemen. As we, of course, are just killing a little bit of time while Namshar takes care of some stuff before we get into that final game.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be stressed, man, coming into this. He was the underdog. It's tied 2-2. Those games were really, really nuts. That Backwater game, everything boiling down to that final push of the mothership. I was edge of my seat.
Actually, yeah, that Backwater game was extremely exciting. Like when I felt like I saw Namshar die like 6 times in that game, and then somehow get back. And a lot of it had to do with the drop a lot play with the load Hydras.
It's actually pretty scary. That could have gone in Namshar's favor. Even after, didn't look so good, it really did turn in his favor. And then it was another classic PvZ thing where, like, okay, I killed a lot of your economy, but you still have a huge army.
Yeah. You had the Hydras in the main that were killing the Void Rays. That one Lurker was burrowed on the north center base while the Colossus was trying to push the Hydras back. Like, it's been a really, really awesome series. I think it's delivered a little bit more than perhaps we were anticipating from such a one-sided history that these players have.
And you can see how emotional Namshar is as well. Like he started off very composed, but game 5, I mean, ShoWTimE, I don't think he has a second facial expression, but Namshar is actually like clearly very, tense, maybe a little bit shaky. And it's his prerogative to take a bit of a break now because he can do that. And he is one map away to try and break a very horrific streak that he's had to deal with in his career.
Yeah, I think if you're Namshar, you are very, very stressed out right now, for better or worse, as we take a look at some of the moments that throughout this series that have brought us to this crazy place where ShoWTimE is tied 2-2 against the underdog, so to speak.
It's happened before, though. They did have a 3-2 set a year or 2 ago, So, I mean, he's been in this position every pro gamer at this point, and Namshar does have a fair bit of experience, even though he's never really gone like as far as everyone has said like maybe he will. Fair bit of experience, right? And you gotta have a way of collecting yourself when you're in the ace match. And even if he does look shaky, he's obviously still taken it to the ace match because I kind of started like around game 2 or 3, honestly.
Yeah.
So he's got a way to deal with it. ShoWTimE, just one expression. He's always cool. It's good.
Cool, collected, composed. I mean, we know him. He's taken championships before. ShoWTimE is no stranger to the big stage, to picking up the big W's, as it were. Any other interesting developments in this match going on?
Sort of actually had a really huge counterattack that looks very, very good for him. He was up 20-odd army supply, but Nurtio just being Nurtio, man, the king himself. He is no stranger to a round of 8. Yeah. And he is really like turning it around here. Sortov's going for a big Ling counterattack, but he's sort of like being indecisive here with his Lings, pun not intended. And Nurtio just has that ball of roaches, completely cleans him up, and this counterattack looks very deadly.
I think the hold there was actually really close. Saw some drones being pulled from the 3rd base, so Nurtio taking sort of course, very seriously, but so far I guess sort of not able to really get a win.
Yeah.
Nurtio's the kind of player that we expect to see the end rounds of tournaments like this, and I think that series earlier between True and Bly, True was able to take it, right?
Yeah, 3-1. True and Bly was actually not as aggressive and insane as I thought it was. It would always eventually go to the 3 bases with like a lot of roaches and upgrades positions and counterattack tactics and borrowed roaches trying to go to mutas, that sort of thing. But it was a really sick series actually. It was down on base trade. I'm sure the VODs will be around to watch at some point. But really, really fun ZVZ series. True is like not a ton of people are talking about True, but He is a contender, like a very, very scary Zerg in this bracket now. Every series I see from him is very, very, very impressive.
He's always popping up, basically. Like, yeah, true.
Popping up like a burrowed roach.
Like a burrowed roach.
Like a burrowed roach.
Like an unburrowed roach.
Like an
Exactly.
unburrowed. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they go both ways. We're going to go to a short break. When we come back, we'll be resuming this match between ShoWTimE and Namshar as it goes to the rubber map. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody, as we are getting ready for the final game of this round of 16 matchup between our German Protoss and our Swedish Zerg. Namshar is good to continue this pretty epic series so far, Johan, because I don't want to quote this too much, but I feel this is esports history.
Oh, it is, for sure. And it's going to end on Acid Plant as well as a 5th map of all maps.
That has literally never happened before. Best of 5 between Namshar and ShoWTimE ending on Acid Plant.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also the first time ever it occurs, but that's totally okay.
This is also the part where we say, what better map to end the best of 5 on? Literally any map you tell me, but well, it's going to be the one.
And you know, Todd, I honestly feel if anybody can do it to break this 17-0 streak, it has to be Namshar. So, all right, guys, we've got all the cliches out of the way, and now it's ready for some awesome StarCraft. I am excited. Hopefully, we are good to continue real soon. It's been already closer than a lot of people predicted it to be, though, Johan.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you mentioned it. Like, they had a series not too long ago, just around a week ago, where it was a 3-1 for ShoWTimE, but the games weren't that one-sided. You know, like, it can be 17-0. It doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, the games are easy every single time. And Namshar has fought back, and he's brought himself in a position where he's just one map away from finally beating his nemesis. And I can tell you right now, I've had nemesises, and there is no greater feeling than that, than finally beating that one guy that's been bullying you, beating you time after time. It takes its toll, you know, like you end up having some sort of mental block. Sometimes you will kind of overcome that and feel comfortable the one time you're playing against them, but then you still lose. And then the next time you come back, well, you're still kind of feeling destroyed in your own mind against that one person. But right now, it just comes down to one map. This is crazy.
Yeah, I'm excited for Namshar, you know. I love seeing ShoWTimE advance. Of course, would be awesome as well in front of this German audience, which has been pretty into it, pretty invested in this series already. Unfortunately, Hero Marine, Big Gabe earlier today was not able to make it. We still got Lambo later today as well, guys. Lambo's gonna go up in a ZVZ against Snoot, if I recall correctly.
Lambo is playing really well, by the way, and he's one of those guys that showed some of the most emotion as well after his game. So you can tell how dear this is to him.
Would be great, of course, if we could potentially have 2 German players in the round of 8. But that's for later today. For now, where all eyes are going to be on Namshar versus ShoWTimE. We are good to continue any moment now, just making sure both players feel happy and comfortable and satisfied with everything. Big game, of course. Also on a map that we haven't seen that many times before yet. There you have Neeb, he's yawning, he's like, God.
He's roaring.
I just want to know who I have to beat next. Why are they making this so complicated? It's like,
I'm sure that's what he's thinking.
All this fuss, all this hassle, I'm going to lift the trophy anyway at the end of the weekend. Can we just fast forward to Sunday afternoon?
What do you make of Acid Plant here in the PvZ?
I have played maybe 2 PvZs on this map. I actually think that it's very macro-oriented. It's not
It's third base, though.
Can be very wide open,
Yeah.
yes. No, it's a great map for run-bys. It's a great map for maybe a couple of random banelings morphing somewhere on the side. And
Lurker
making it
Siege?
possible as well, but it's also a very wide open map, which means...
What about a Prism and some Zealots and some Archons? Because as much as last game that was defended,
Yeah, that
I
shouldn't have
still
happened.
think like ShoWTimE could have done so much more with that, and losing the Prism was still the main mistake.
I almost think that all this waiting time, as we are finally loading into game number 5, by the way, guys, we apologize for the inconvenience, but we are ready to continue this show. All this waiting must have been extra frustrating for this man, because he knew that this could have been all over. This could have been a 3-1 already if he wouldn't have lost that War Prism. Is he able to stay as calm and composed as he always does in the left top side? Give it up for ShoWTimE.
His opponents bringing it back to game number 5 in the red. It is Namshar.
Taking 2 out of 4 maps start, that is a lot better than taking 1 out of the last 25 maps that he, or 25 times that he went up against ShoWTimE. The record was literally 24-1 in the last 25 encounters. No exaggeration here when we say he almost never beat him. No, he truly almost never beat him. And he never took ShoWTimE down in a competitive series, but this is the closest that he ever got. And I am very, very excited to be part of this game 5. Because even ShoWTimE must be feeling it a little bit right now.
Absolutely, yeah. And yeah, I mean, if Namshar wins here as well, it's like he's erased all the past almost, right? He would still be 17-1, but he would have won in that one time where he was basically the most important here, because he would move on to the round of 8, which is an absolutely big deal.
And don't forget that this is also ShoWTime's stomping grounds. We are in Germany. You know, the travel was obviously excellent for ShoWTimE. He feels comfortable. Obviously, every German really wants to perform in front of their own audience, or, you know, anywhere we go. We know that with the Polish players at the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice, they are always super pumped up. But it's no difference here for guys like Hero Marine, TLO, ShoWTimE, and Lambo. So obviously for ShoWTimE, it would be a massive disappointment if the run would end here. Especially after he looked so good in the group stage.
Yeah.
He looked untouchable.
So usually in a game number 5, sometimes you will see players go completely crazy, put it all on the line. But I feel like we might have a standard game here out of both players. You know, like it's really looking like that here so far. And I mean, I can't fault them, right? Just trying to play a straight up game definitely will make for interesting things. ShoWTimE, you know, with the Stargate once again. Whereas Namshar, He's opening with speeds, and most likely you're going to be starting that third hatchery here in a second, which ShoWTimE is actually thinking to check out. Can't really block it when there's so many links around. He's still going to be doing that for a little bit.
Deny it just for a couple of seconds, you know. If you can be annoying, why not? Do you think that this probe is going to make it all the way home, Johan? Oh, I guess the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Greatest question of all time.
Hashtag caster curse. I guess Namshar anticipated there could be an adept on its way, and rightfully so here, as ShoWTimE often uses these guys to synergize with the oracles. Try and deal some economic damage, or even force some more units, really, which is, I guess, in turn, dealing economic damage.
I'm expecting an Oracle first here, as we do see that Oracle being fired up, because ShoWTimE is probably like, hey, on Blackpink, you were very greedy with your Spore Crawlers.
Yeah.
Do you think that I always go Phoenix before Oracle? That's actually not the case. I like to go Oracle into Phoenix, sometimes even Oracle into Phoenix. As he's scouting here as well, he's like, all right, still no Spore Crawler. If you can just keep it like that for the next 15 seconds, I will be more than happy to take down 4 drones with my first Oracle.
Yeah, but Namshar is at least starting 1 Spore. That one is in the main, starts 1 now in the natural, so he should be okay, I think, against this. He's making sure the same thing as last game doesn't happen here early on, with him losing more drones than he actually should.
Both gases have been taken by ShoWTimE in the natural as well. I don't think that ShoWTimE is going to invest too much into a Prism, into Zealots, into Archons early on. I'm expecting a very defensive ShoWTimE this game. Just try to get defensive Immortals, try to get defensive Archons, and maybe have a War Prism with 2 Adepts and just drop those 2 Adepts in the main base every now and then, the way that he loves to do it. Get a couple drones. Other than that, just sit back, because there is, you know, there's almost no need for ShoWTimE to take risks in this matchup, because he's so damn good in it.
The rush distance on this map doesn't feel that long, but against somebody as good as ShoWTimE defensively, it's always almost discouraging to go for any kind of attack, because it feels like he's almost always going to see it coming and then have enough. And that's in part why he goes for the Stargate so often. So many more gates are being dropped, Kev.
Yeah,
4 more with the 2 that he has at the front of his wall here. It's going to be charged.
Very similar to what we saw in that last game. Maybe ShoWTimE is so angry about it. He's like, oh, man, if I didn't lose that War Prism, I would have won the game there, just like I did on Neon Violet. But there is a big difference between this one and Blackpink. This time the Oracle didn't do all the economic damage. This time ShoWTimE is, or excuse me, Namshar is already at 53, 54 drones, with 4 more drones on the way, 5 more drones on the way. I mean, potentially you could see the same scenario as Neon Violet, but this map, it is quite long, even though the Prism can obviously ignore the rocks. You know, from base to base is not that far, but you have all the rocks in the middle of the map, which makes it a little bit harder for certain ground attacks to work. Of course, Prisms can ignore ground attacks. I don't know, though. I find this a tiny bit risky by ShoWTimE. To see this in Game 5?
From the main base to the third, there's quite a bit of distance, but that's already been connected with creep for the most part by Namshar.
Yeah.
So his units are actually going to have a lot of extra speed here, kind of rejoining one another. Muscular Augments now start, and 9 Hydralisks are now on the way. We saw what happened last game with Namshar's control. The kiting was excellent. He even used some drones to block some of these Archons for a little bit.
The economy is great of Namshar. The timing on the Hydras is great for Namshar. I like almost everything. I am very weird. Namshar is going back to droning. That's maybe a tiny bit too fast, because ShoWTimE is actually only at 47 workers. But if Namshar is able to kite a little bit on creep, I think that ShoWTimE is going to be in a little bit of trouble here. Let's see if he can get the engagement that he's looking for. The Hydras behind the middle line, that's not where you want to fight. ShoWTimE knows it as well. Keep an eye on that Prism, Johan, as we do have a pause, as there was a little bit of lag as well.
Oh my god, the Prism.
Yeah, that Prism is in range.
There is no Muscular Augment yet, so...
The Prism should live unless there is a single misclick.
Yeah.
That was probably the most unfortunate moment ever for a lag spike to occur. Almost feels like a cursed series so far, Johan.
By the way, there's no F2 from Namshar. He's got all his units on 1. Keeping it casual, keeping it classic.
Both players having a little bit of banter with each other as well. As, you know, basically Namshar said, oh my goodness. And then ShoWTimE said, big lag. Namshar said, yes. And then ShoWTimE was wondering, am I going to lose the Prism now? And Namshar just smiled. And now both players are asking if they could perhaps re-host the game and go back a couple of seconds in time, which I think is a fair given, you know. Only 2 or 3 seconds, but I think that's the most fair thing we can do here. But obviously I am not a tournament admin, which sometimes, Johan, I'm very glad about.
This guy's got the hard calls to make.
Yep.
Take all the blame. Something goes wrong.
I mean, it doesn't really get much more crucial than this, right? A attack that is meant to do damage in a game 5 of a round of 16 matchup.
I mean, this is tense. Like, Namshar knew this was coming. He's making units. He's trying to regroup. He's going to be trying to kite against that. But ShoWTime's army was still looking pretty darn scary at the same time. And I mean, literally the worst time possible, you know? Like 1 minute earlier, and it would have been like, okay, no big deal. Maybe pause, make sure that the connection is fine.
Both players are wondering what they're supposed to do. The internet seems to be fine again, but this was probably the most crucial pause that you are going to find. I just want to give a heads up to the production real quick. If we do decide to continue this game, let's not wait until the countdown disappears. We need to be in the game immediately, because the next few seconds are going to be crucial. Both players are very well aware of that.
Tough spots. Really tough spots. We saw the fight about to unravel. It's like it's so even as well, right? Like if you look at both armies, like in that moment where they paused the game, like can't quite call it, and neither can they, I think.
So Namshar is now suggesting a pause to see if they're, or suggesting the unpause to see if they're still lagging or not, and then he could always try to regame. I think there is a tournament admin on stage that's gonna try to figure this out. But I mean, both players saw each other's armies. They know what's going on in this game. We are not revealing anything that the players are not aware of it. And both players, even in that chat, they obviously are on top of what is happening. It's just a very tense moment, very unfortunate moment. I think that's like the first lag spike I've seen all weekend. What a moment for it to occur.
Yeah, definitely not ideal here, but hopefully we can get that game finished and closed out here in a bit. Because we still got quite a few series left today here.
Yeah, we've got a lot of StarCraft still coming your way. We've got 2 more matches of the round of 16, and these are some really exciting matches as well. We've got Zero going up against Masa. That's going to be up next here on the main stream, and we're going to close the round of 16 out with a TVT Todd in the playoffs. The game has continued. We're going to unpause, and then we're going to pause again. I think it was just to check the lag. ShoWTimE says seems fine.
Yeah, they were just testing the lag. Yeah, I think they're gonna maybe remake and go back a little bit to make sure that they go back to before the lag actually happens.
I'm not sure if they're going to remake it or not. I think they are maybe willing to...
Oh yeah, they're just testing. Yes. Yeah, they said they were going to test.
Okay. I think they panicked as well. They're like, are we playing or not? So they're going to rehost the game just 2 seconds before that lag spike occurred to make sure that everything is as fair as possible and that crucial unit will not go down. Well thought. This is obviously a little bit awkward for the players, a little bit awkward for us as well, but the armies were revealed. Both players knew exactly what was happening in this game. They're not crazy. They play this game all the time, and they both are very well aware of the fact that that is a pivotal point, perhaps, in this entire round of 16 matchup. But what are your thoughts, maybe until they're reloading the game? What are your thoughts on Zero versus Masa?
I think it's going to be awesome. Like, both of these guys are amazing in the matchup. We just had a great series recently of Cyril going up against ShoWTimE. Masa in the past has showed that no matter what the matchup, you know, if there is some macro to be used, bases to be taken, and armies to be masked, he's always there. So not only that, but later on, we're gonna have special going up against ShoWTimE, and that's gonna be maybe the highlight of the day, potentially, maybe the best round of 16 matchup.
I almost feel that there is like a little crown next to that matchup as well. You know, winner deserves title of
this is the main event.
This is the best foreign Terran matchup right there. And of course, you could say that Special is perhaps the defending champion of that title, as he had a fantastic run at the global playoffs last year, and Special just looked phenomenal throughout the entirety of 2017. 2017, perhaps not really the year of ShoWTimE, even though he had a couple of good showings. But I think ShoWTimE is in good shape, Todd. I think he's in excellent shape. And yeah, I mean, what a party that's going to be. Whether you play Zerg, Protoss, or Terran, you should be excited for a Special versus ShoWTimE best of 5. I know I am.
Yeah.
That's going to be the one that I will watch with a nice bag of pommes frites and maybe a bratwurst on the side as well. Feet on the desk. Let's go.
What about a schnitzel to make the whole combo here together?
Maybe a cheeky Weitze.
Some sauerkraut. Okay, this is going too far.
I think the only way to truly enjoy TVT is with a Weitze, Johan. Maybe 2. Blizzard is not watching.
I don't think you can count on that.
I know. We're almost ready to continue, guys. We apologize for the pauses, but this was, of course, the only way to handle this as fair and in the right way. ShoWTimE looks tense. Namshar obviously looks tense as well. Can Namshar do what he's never done before, and that is take out ShoWTimE in a competitive series of StarCraft 2? If you guys just joined us, 17-0, Johan.
Yeah, very rarely do we get this kind of score, you know?
Between two top players, like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't happen. Especially in a matchup as well that I think has seen his ups and downs, right? StarCraft
It's
is not
not like Namshar is really bad against Protoss.
No.
You know, like I would say he's quite good at it, but it's just ShoWTimE is a master of the matchup, and somehow every time that they've met, he won.
And that could very well be the case here again. We know the push that's about to happen. We saw it work once, we saw it fail another time. But the time that it failed, I felt on paper it looked better. I like this early game again by Namshar. I like his economy. I don't think he should have made those additional drones that he made. But if he keeps the Hydras in a safe spot, I do believe anything is possible. It's going to come down to the kiting, and it's really going to come down to the Prism.
And this game, ShoWTimE actually committed quite a bit here to the push, I think.
Yeah, no,
He didn't
he's
start
down in the
Storm
work.
yet.
No, he's
Like
down in the work. And he's also supply block. Not for long, but he's going to be supply block for 3 or 4 seconds until his Nexus finishes up. Johan, I know that you love to talk about my precious when it comes to certain units in StarCraft. And I think if there is any real precious right now for ShoWTimE, it has to be that War Prism. Cannot afford to lose it. Otherwise, the best thing he could do is maybe recall out and save a couple units, but he's gonna lose all momentum. He needs to do damage. He's behind economically.
Actually, even setting up the War Prism to warp in a lot is going to be hard, because there is kind of units everywhere and so much creep around the area that I think it's going to be very uncomfortable for ShoWTimE to still kind of make this work. But we'll see where he chooses to set that up. I guess he's had quite a few minutes now to think about it.
Yes, that is definitely true. And you're spot on as well when it comes to the vision of Namshar, right? It's not like there is a secret spot where ShoWTimE can just put that Prism in shift mode or phase mode and warp in a bunch of units. He can't. It's always going to be on creep if he wants it to be anywhere remotely close to his army. And obviously you want to keep it near your army because you want to be able to pick up your Archons. You don't just want to lose your Archons. So this is crucial. The audience looks tense as well. Yes. Trust me, guys, we are about to continue. It's making sure everything is perfect, because this game could potentially end within 30 seconds as well. But hopefully it goes on for a while. But we are watching at a crucial point in a 5-game series. As I believe our admin is a little desperate to make sure that everybody's in the game. Doesn't want to miss anyone. Must be kind of nerve-wracking here for the players as well. ShoWTimE looks stressed. The winner of this series will, of course, move on to play against True, our Korean Zerg. He was able to defeat Bly in this best-of-5 series with a score of 3-1. I wouldn't say that was a surprising result, but at the same time, I also feel that Bly looked super good yesterday. So for True to show up here and take out Bly 3-1, I thought that was relatively impressive.
Yeah, I mean, True is like that guy that people easily sleep on, but then he kind of shows up and delivers. Then again, so is Bly.
Yep.
Like that series of Bly against ShoWTimE, I was on the desk, saying, there's no way Bly is going to be able to do this. Zombie Grub called him a bump in the road. But apparently, that guy fights back. He told me, actually, he studied Uthermal. And yeah, he knew exactly kind of what to do. He even said it in an interview. He was like, I studied these blind spots, and then boom, I put a hybrid there.
I love that. I love those little clips that we've seen of the players so far. That really gives us the story that sometimes we just simply can't cover, right? Because we've got over like close to 100 players showing up here playing that open bracket. Obviously, we would have to make 2 weeks of 12-hour broadcasts to cover each and every single one of them. So it's really good to get a glimpse of what's happening in that player area. There were so many good players that didn't even make it to the main stage. And a couple of upsets as well. I mean, for instance, we had a German Terran Kaup show up. Haven't heard that name in a long time. Actually made it to group stage 3. That's not bad at all. I mean, that young man finished in the money. We haven't heard of him in forever.
He's been around for a long time as well, so I guess good for him, scoring some of those dirty sport dollars.
The days of the Meisterschaft. Those were the days of Kaup.
Yeah.
A couple runs here and there.
Bring it back.
Well, the hands
Die Meisterschaft.
The hands are still not on the keyboard, but I think the players are typing. I believe they were reloading the game to 6 minutes and 10 seconds.
Takes a little bit. We should jump in as soon as the countdown starts, I think.
Because we paused the game at 6 minutes and 13 seconds, but there was a lag spike, so ShoWTimE suggested, can we go back 3 seconds in time? And it seems like they are good to go, so here we go. Here is that prism. It's 6 minutes, 10 seconds. ShoWTimE decides to fight there in the middle of the map, and I think that's actually quite risky, Johan, because there are a lot of Hydras there. They're in a good defensive position. We do see additional Zealots being warped in, but close to the mineral line, close to the extractor, I think that's where these Hydras want to be.
Yeah, Namshar is trying to kite his way back here. He has no muscular augment yet. So even on creep, his units are kind of slow. Namshar having to pull the drones here to try and shield his Hydralisk away. ShoWTimE could just evacuate, but he's choosing to commit everything here right now. He was going to try to evacuate at the last second here with the Archons.
A lot of low HP Hydras, Johan, but most of them didn't go down. At least the Archons do live. 7 drones went down. I would say that was about as even as we could have expected, but I like it for Namshar a little bit more because of that fourth hatchery and because of the delayed tag for ShoWTimE.
The thing is, ShoWTimE directly goes into an Immortal and Storm. If he can complete that, he's going to be in fantastic shape. But Namshar is looking like he wants to counter-attack. He has a lot of Hydralisks, and if that's not complete here, Storm and that Immortal, is going to be hard for ShoWTimE to keep up with that army there.
That is a beautiful stasis. Traps a lot of these links. That's going to make it a little bit easier for ShoWTimE to perhaps get close on these Hydras. Namshar is not all in with this attack, guys, by any means. The second stasis is not that successful. No shield battery again in the natural. Now there is a backup shield battery there that ShoWTimE is currently warping in.
Oh, and the links are about to be free. Storm is not finished yet. It's about to finish. ShoWTimE needs to let maybe a couple buildings or units die. And as Storm finishes, he could take the fight. Namshar actually, his spider senses starts tingling him. And he's just going to pull back before Storm can even finish, because I think he would have lost everything with this glass cannon of an army that he has.
We're going to see some Dropalord play once again. 4 Dropalords morphing in the main. Overlord speed not done yet, but he is researching it. And if you look at that main base compared to the third base of ShoWTimE, that's very far. That's a long distance to travel. If you drop a bunch of Hydralisks over there on the left side, that's not easy to deal with at all. ShoWTimE needs to keep this Oracle alive. I think the Oracle is crucial here to drop a couple of revelations, tag those Dropalords, stack the army, and have an idea of what's going on.
Is that an observer that he has across the map at the bottom? I think it might be. If he was able to spot the Overlords with this, that would be a very big deal, because then he'd know how many are going to be dropping, and he could split accordingly. In the Backwater game, that was really like, you know, the lack of information that put him in trouble at times. But if ShoWTimE, if he defends the first drop properly, he's going to be in a fantastic spot in this game.
That's smart, though, by Namshar, making sure that he has an overseer flying around, that if there was an observer, that he's going to be able to pick it off. Now, we do have that prism still on the right side, but if those Hydras all make it into the main base of ShoWTimE, I don't think that ShoWTimE can ever keep his fourth base alive. He tags some of the units, but thought that was a distraction maneuver. There's a lot of Dropalords heading towards the main base.
It's a decoy. He's going on the right-hand side. It kind of looks fishy, to be honest. Zerg going all the way to the right-hand side. I think ShoWTimE almost should be getting suspicious at this point, but he's not. He might have to recall a lot of his army in the main base. On the other side, though, he goes for a big warp-in instead of Namshar's main base. That's going to be hard to defend, because these are charge loads, and he wants to be microing his units across the map at the same time as well.
Yep, a good movement though on the Hydra, stocking them in between the extractor and the mineral patches. That Dropalord drop is all over the main base of ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE decides to recall immediately, but then can he keep his fourth base alive?
He recalls with almost everything here, dealing with these Hydralisks pretty well right now. The Overlords are going to try and get away. Maybe start a Phoenix here to try and chase these guys. And he left some units on the third base, especially the High Templars here, where Namshar is most likely going to be attacking here in a second. I mean, ShoWTimE is on 4 bases. He lost a bunch of probes, but as long as he can resaturate and keep building up his army, he's going to be fine. But I think Namshar...
There is a Phoenix.
He's not going to let him do that. He's just going to keep on being aggressive, throw the kitchen sink at him here.
And they can hurt, Todd. They can really, they can absolutely hurt. There's 4 more probes from the way. ShoWTimE did lose a lot of workers in that little exchange, so he was down economically quite a bit. His army, especially with storms, is stronger. Does he have sentries? Yes, he has 1 sentry here, which he could land a couple of force fuels with. And obviously he's got those Archons to tank. That drop, Johan, is somehow still being annoying. Those 4 Hydras have killed quite a few workers, and now again forcing ShoWTimE to pull the workers off the mineral line. Finally, it's going to be taken care of.
The big attack here is coming from Namshar. He's got so many Banelings and Hydralisks as well. Storm's not going to be keen defending this. The High Templars exposed at the front, but ShoWTimE covers them. He's going to land some massive storms on top of the Zerg army here.
Damn, those were some very, very juicy storms, and I think that Namshar is gonna have to transition, Johan. I think the first Hydra Bane attack is always the scariest, but ShoWTimE was able to shut it down. I'd love to see more Drop Alert play. I really think that's so successful, especially on a map like this with that much open space in the main. Maybe a Lurker then, maybe a Hive tech for a Great Aspire?
He went for his face station pit, I think, here a second ago, so maybe Hive.
Yeah, Hive Great Aspire, right?
Or Swarmo's Desperation Time, I don't know, like something.
Is it? I mean, ShoWTimE did recover economically. ShoWTimE on 4 bases with Immortals, with Archon, with Storm.
Namshar has no gas, by the way, because he made so many banelings. He's actually run out of gas. He's taking 2 more right now, but I mean, he has a huge surplus of minerals right now, which is not going to do him any good because Lynx are pretty terrible here against that Protoss army that's still not upgraded that much, to be honest. He's just a +1 on the way right now, but great Stasis squad set up here.
Oh, that's going to be a kind of juicy one. There's 2 of them, so that's a lot of Hydras. The problem is, though, Johan, as well, I feel the longer this game goes on, the more you're going to see those cannons and shield batteries everywhere. And cannons, shield batteries, and Stormbow, good luck with Hydra bailing. It's just not going to cut it. Every hold is going to be easier and easier. But look at that Archon. That's a mighty brave Archon. But it's got back
He's
up
going
as well.
in, he's going in deep. ShoWTimE on the chase now on the top right-hand side against that army of Namshar that's just dying in the most non-cost effective way possible. 126 army to 116, but I mean against Storm, like I said before, this is pretty much a glass cannon army. The blind spot, he finds it and flies into the main base, but I mean recall should be available by now, and there are even some zealots in position here.
Yeah, but you don't want to use recall all the time, but I think he's forced. I think he's spot on. One Archon got left behind. I love the Drop Alert play. You can see it. It always causes some problems. Those upgrades you mentioned, Johan, if this forts go down, it goes down perhaps right before +1. Yes, that is denied. And that's absolutely keeping Namshar in this game. Well done. Great snipe there.
Ooh, Storm and Overlord. You don't get to see that very often.
2 of them went down.
Yeah.
2 of those Overlords went down on the left side of the map. We can see on the minimap only 1 survived.
Like the plus Storm. Oh, one last Storm just before dying here. Actually, some of that lands on his own zealots.
And now he's going to be able to drop these either now with 2 Immortals here and an Archon. I guess that's going to be the end of the drop there. I think he should have just maybe let those Hydras die in the main, because now in the end they just all got stormed anyway. Look at the Sentry! Sentry! Sentry, be a hero! I really wanted it, but no, it's going to be the Stalker instead.
And ShoWTimE's army is starting to be really scary here at this stage. He's got a lot of Immortals, so many High Templars ready to storm. He's going to go into additional Stargates, Fleet Beacon for the Mothership. Well set up on 4 bases with some good static defense, shield batteries, cannons. It might be time to attack here for ShoWTimE, but because of the way the series has gone and he's afraid of counterattacks, maybe he might want to take his time a little bit more. This is also a time where if you go across the map, you get dropped and you end up running into lurkers across the map, then you can't really attack, and then you've moved across the map for nothing.
Oracle got sniped there on the right top side of the map, but I agree with you. I just kind of like ShoWTimE his defensive setup though. Like, I think attacking is fine here if he is very cautious and he really knows where the Zerg army is, but he's not forced to attack, because what is Namshar doing? Namshar is going into a Great Aspire, but ShoWTimE already has his air upgrades on the way. He's getting a Fleet Beacon. He can start the Mothership, which we know he all loves. If he frees up a little bit of supply, he's going to be able to sandwich quite a few of these Hydras. Now, of course, Zealots will go down. Namshar immediately counterattacks. Lots of storms going down on these Banelings and Hydras, but I don't think that ShoWTimE has that much to fear of the Great Aspire, because he already has his Fleet Beacon and his Stargates.
Yeah, ShoWTimE definitely should be attacking here, despite going for some sort of air transition. His army would do so well against the fully ground army without lurkers of Namshar right now if he was to attack, but obviously, we see the entire map. ShoWTimE does not know what we do. Remember that one observer that was sniped? That's a big deal. If he was still out there, he would be able to see there are no signs of any lurkers, and in particular if he saw Corruptors being made right now against his full ground army, he'd be like, all right, time to move you, land some storms, and collect my victory.
I love this counterattack again, though. There are a couple of cannons, but this amount of Hydras. Lots of storms available, though, on those 2 Hydras. He's going to have 2 more storms because they were full on energy. There's a couple of Zealots have been sacrificed, but ShoWTimE is doing that to free up some supply. We can see the first carriers are on the way. 200 is, of course, max supply, and ShoWTimE is very close to it at any given moment.
Yeah, he's trying to attack in 2 locations here. Namshar is bringing his entire army on the right-hand side, so the attack at the bottom is going to be very scary. He pulls back here.
Actually,
and he has a lot of storms still ready here on both locations.
Yeah, the right side, it's only like 2.
Oh, he closes the gates.
Oh, that's well done. Nice wall of force fields there. These drones are in a lot of trouble. This hatchery is going to fall very quickly. And he's actually still winning that fight on the right side as well, with a couple of good storms that apparently connected to these Hydras. There are Broodlords on the way. Nice little sandwich there with Hydras coming in from every angle. So a couple of Immortals do go down, but look at how rich ShoWTimE is, Johan.
Yeah, Graviton catapults on the way, +1 air weapons and 3 carriers being added on now. He could even just kind of throw away this army, try and deal as much damage as he can. But now Broodlords have entered the field. They're going to be the big X factor here for Namshar to try and win this game with maybe some sort of counter-attack.
I think ShoWTimE should recall that army in the left bottom side, Todd. Instead, he's going to try to fight this with the Zealots and the Mothership.
Oh, there it is.
Without a carrier, though, I think this is a tiny bit risky. Where are those units on the left side? They're walking their way all the way home. If I'm Namshar, I would say pedal to the metal and go. Try to deny that 5th base. And then maybe, just maybe, you can overrun the carriers with a bunch of Corruptors.
Yeah, he might be just too worried to do that, because then counter-attacks would be very scary and he'd be heading into some base trade that he might not be comfortable getting into. But yeah, you're right. It might be his best chance here in this game, because the more he waits, the more ShoWTimE is going to assemble Tempest, carriers, maybe even potential Void Rays.
And the longer this
Those
goes
are going
on,
to do very well against this army, especially with Storms and Archons in support.
Yep, there we got a couple of High Templars coming in from the north side. At least 7, 8 Storms available here. A couple of Archons got sniped very quickly, as I think ShoWTimE was waiting for his Storms, but they were not in range yet, so this Nexus does go down. But does Namshar have the economy to make the amount of Corruptors or Hydralisks that he needs? But I would personally say Corruptors, Todd.
He's killing Interceptors right now pretty well, actually, against the ShoWTimE, who just lost a very important base. But right now, ShoWTimE is regrouping. Look at that army. 122 army supply to 106. Broodlords moving in position. There is no pulling back for Namshar. This is it. He's either going to win or lose right there. And it looks like ShoWTimE might have enough Tempest shooting at the Overseers right now. They need to start dealing with these Broodlords properly, but Hydralisks on the ground kind of running out.
As long as ShoWTimE keeps having a couple of Interceptors on his carriers, he should be fine here. Look at the HP on his units. Mothership still very healthy. These Archons are still healthy. The carriers are still super healthy. The Immortals going strong. And Namshar's army is dwindling here in Game 5. It really seems like ShoWTimE is going to be able to push Namshar back and perhaps even close the deal, as he's up at now 190 supply, Todd, against only 111.
I'm looking.
I mean, at Game 5, I don't think Namshar is going to tap out early here, but that was a massive victory for ShoWTimE.
Yeah, incredible hold. Namshar had so many Broodlords. ShoWTimE, it looked like he might have taken the fight a little bit early, but he just had a little too much, regrouped, landed the Storms, and now he's got the ultimate army. I think win this game.
Against all those Storms, it's just so hard to get your Hydras in range right against those carriers, so your only hope is to kill all the Interceptors. But when you have to run away from Storms all the time, as all of these drones are getting slaughtered as well. Oh, that's a sad little corner. I will always remember that as the spot where Namshar's drones went to
Never forget.
Find a better place. Let's just keep it at that. There are a few more drones there on the wrong side of the rocks. Namshar's trying to scramble every unit that he has, but I think at this point the Swedish Zerg knows that even though he got closer than he ever did before in beating ShoWTimE in a competitive series, it's once again not going to be enough, as GG is called, and ShoWTimE does advance to the quarterfinals of WCS Leipzig. Beautiful performance there by our German Protoss. You can see quite a sigh of relief as well, a little bit of a fist bump for the German audience. Must feel good, and he was probably wondering it's not going to happen right here, right? The streak that was never supposed to end for him would be quite a shame to see it end in front of the German audience. Namshar put up one hell of a fight. I think it was an awesome series. We had a couple of breaks, but in the end, Todd, I enjoyed every single minute.
And it looked like that game might conclude early as well, when the Prism, was in a weird position. Namshar looked to be in a good position from the start, but alas, it wasn't meant to be. Let's go and hear from the man himself who's on the stage here, ShoWTimE, with his Anna Prosser.
Yeah, guys, ShoWTimE just said he was feeling exhausted after that. Tell us why.
I feel like I made a few mistakes in every game, and two of those cost me the game. And I don't know, the series went on quite long. Like, he was a bit sick, so he had to take some breaks and so on. Yeah, it just went on very long, and the games were tough.
This was the result that we kind of expected, considering your record against Namshar, but were the games like you expected?
Honestly, my record against Namshar doesn't show how the matches usually go, I would say. I mean, sometimes, yeah, I kind of sweep him, but I always view myself a very tough opponent. I don't understand why I have like such a sick streak against him, but I never take him easily. I always prepare well for him and try to play my best. And yeah.
Well, that's what you did here, and now you're moving forward in the tournament. Is there anything that you're particularly looking forward to in terms of opponents or anyone you think is going to be a big roadblock for you?
I think I'm facing the winner of True and Bly next, so it's another Circ for me.
That's going to be True.
True? Okay. I'm not sure. I haven't played him in some time, I feel like, so I'm not really sure what to expect, but I feel good about my PvZ, and I hope I can fix like a few mistakes I made against Namshar, and yeah, I feel good.
Do you have anything to say to these German fans here today?
You guys are awesome.
You are. All right, that's it. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you very much, Anna. Couldn't have said it better myself. You guys here are all awesome. It's a treat to have you here as we move forward with the World Championship Series Leipzig ShoWTimE. Bit of a nail-biter this series became.
Yeah, this was a bum clincher, Nate. Namshar brought him all the way to Game 5. Every time getting a little bit closer in the last couple of series that they faced each other. Maybe next time, but unfortunately not today.
Not today, and it goes to 18-0, Zombie Grub.
Totally called it. Knew exactly what was going to happen every time.
Yeah, you were completely confident the whole time.
You guys can't see it. Hidden just underneath the laptop is Zombie Grub's crystal ball.
And also a knife going into my ribs. It's just off camera. Just
yeah. Be very careful. An arduous series to say the least. I think ShoWTimE made a good note of pointing out that that's a bit of a marathon of a match. I mean, between the little bit of the lag, having to restart the game,
it felt like
long
hours.
games.
It felt like hours, even though it was quite explosive, tons of action, lots of late games, lots of back and forthing. A couple, none of those games really looked like massive convincing wins, except for maybe the first one.
Yeah,
it's just like a charge lot pressure with Archons and then GG.
And I think that's what we like to see. I think that's what the viewers like to see: the close matches, very competitive play, and also, of course, being able to see the underdog claws way forward. We do have an updated bracket for you. The top side is now set with a laser going up against Neeb, and then ShoWTimE playing against True. He was saying he hasn't played him in quite a while. Expect the aggression, I would say, as Nerchio has defeated Sort of, and he will be facing off the winner of our next series. We'll be bringing to you on the mainstream Cyril versus Masa, and then we'll be going to that very bitty bottom of the bracket.
The bitty bottom. And we also have actually Lambo Snoot just starting exactly right now on my computer.
Literally right now.
So if you want to watch that, that's going to be happening on the B stream.
Yep.
Base Trade.
You check them out on Base Trade TV. Those guys are awesome. There is a lot of StarCraft still to come. Of course, that final series that we will be bringing you from the round of 16 will be Uthermal going up against Special. And we can just take a look at the schedule. There you go.
There you go.
Previous results. Okay. We had Neeb defeat Hero Marine. Boom, ShoWTimE beating Namshar. Cyril Moss is up next. Terran versus Zerg, and then TVT. Terran players, you waited. You've got more action coming. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the World Championship Series Leipzig. We'll be right back with that TVZ.